And we are live. What's up, everybody? Ibontus here with the last word tonight on this Thursday night. We are without Lord Cognito. That man is in recovery mode because he is burning the candle, I think, on every end possible right now. So we are going to hold down the last word campfire without him. But we have, of course, my co-host, who is the most dapper dressed as usual. What's up, Ty Guy? How you doing?
How you doing? That was a pretty good cog impression for your intro. If I could give you one piece of note, just
okay, a little
as
feedback here.
As a thespian and aspiring,
it's gonna be one of those nights. Everybody, strap in. I'll tell you now.
You missed the pre-intro giggle.
Oh,
where he goes, huh, huh, huh. We are live. You know that you got to do the giggle before you say that we are live. I feel like it's a very important part of his intro.
If
so
Cognito's out there
other than that, spot on.
Just
what I have to say.
Chef's kiss. What have you been up to, man?
Beautiful. I'm reviewing a video game right now. I cannot talk about it
what
officially, but
in May, I'm trying to think what
it is not. I swear to you, it's not a game you have ever heard of. But
okay,
I am in desperate pain. It is a terrible video game. I just finished it last night, and I was gonna write the review today, and then I just decided I need a break from thinking about this game, and so I'm gonna write it tomorrow. But
Nerf Legends.
It is at least as bad as Nerf Legends. It's somewhere around there. It's so bad, dude. It is. I cannot talk about it without giving away what game it is. But
okay, Crossfire X multiplayer was a 2, right?
Yes.
And then Crossfire was a 3.
Yeah.
Nerf Legends, was that a 4 or a 3?
Nerf Legends was also a 2.
Oh, it was that bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this one's
2 is the lowest I've ever gone. I'm thinking it'll probably be a 2 or a 3. I don't see it going above a 3 at the very most. It's just.
I am sorry.
I can't really get into details, but let's just say it's like
you're good.
It's not just a bad game because it breaks all the time. It's also the content of the game is like deeply offensive. It is just
that's
so
exactly
bad.
what you want in a video game. You're like, good, it doesn't work and it's awful to play. So.
It's so bad, man. So anyway. I've been playing that. I'm playing Lego Star Wars.
That's got to be your palate cleanser.
Oh, I love it. It's so good. I can't believe how good that game is. It really feels like a next-gen game. G-Man asks, why is IGN always giving Travis these trash games? I have a feeling that when IGN feels that a game is going to be bad, this is just my theory. Please don't, say that this is true of IGN.
We're just going to speak this into existence for you so it happens all the time
my
now.
theory is that when they see a game and they think this game's bad, they want to give somebody who they know is going to give an honest opinion about it, and they know that I don't mind playing bad video games that much because I kind of find it fun. It's like a really awful smell, or bad movie night, something like that. It's sort of interesting, but yeah, it's I messaged one of the guys on the IGN team after I had played it for a couple hours, and I was like, so you guys knew this game was going to be bad when you gave it to me, didn't you? And his response was, I don't know what you're talking about. And then that gif of the monkey going, doing the side eye. The monkey puppet, looking over to the side. So I was just like, this guy, I was set up. But anyway, that's what I've been doing. How about you, E? What are you up to?
I am level 125 in Elden Ring. I'm about 90 hours. I'm working on becoming King of the North, which if you've played, you know kind of where I'm at. That makes sense to some people. That game just keeps blowing me away, though. Every time you think you're seeing a little more, every little puzzle. I was lost in a catacombs for an hour trying to figure out where to go. And it's just the little puzzles in there. You think you've seen them all, and once again, you haven't. So, no, I'm playing every moment I can. I even streamed it for literally 2 hours right before the podcast just to sneak some in. So, no, I don't know how much more I have left. I'm guessing I might be 2/3 through it from everybody saying it's about 120 hours or so. But, no, it's one of those where I'm kind of trying to stretch it out as much as possible. So I don't actually... What... Our guest, we're going to introduce her really quickly because she has changed her camera and I can't keep a straight face. So let's get our introduction in and we will get going here. Elden Ring's been fun. I've been raiding a lot. No, that was hilarious. I'm going to have to ask about that in a second. Okay, hold on. All right, so let's introduce you because now I broke the fourth wall. All right, welcome to The Last Word,
Hello.
episode number 192. As we get farther into the season and the difficulties cranked up to 11, we are faced with a couple of acute issues. The scientists of Gambit got some wires crossed, and the Grandmaster door opened up to throw everything and the kitchen sink at Guardians who wanted to challenge. Our guest tonight is a veteran of high-level Destiny content, but that's no surprise as the gaming journey started many years ago with the likes of Mario, Mortal Kombat, and Final Fantasy. Bungie made the first shooter she played, and fittingly, now the one that she's hooked on for life. But it isn't just her FPS skills that will keep you around. It's the joy she brings to her streams and those around her. Just jump in her chat for 5 minutes and you are likely to put a smile on your face and likely be laughing out loud for any number of reasons despite whatever is being talked about on stream at the moment. While she may be dressed like a Disney princess at times, it is not likely her chat that would give her a G movie rating. So let's welcome a lady who hails from the land of 1,000 lakes, Twitch partner and member of Last Rites, certified goofball who also got secret access to the dating side of Twitch. The one, the only, Tiddly. How are you doing?
That is literally the best intro I've ever had, and I'm totally stealing it.
That is totally
That's
fine. That
amazing.
is, you are allowed to use that part of the audio for anything you choose to.
Thank you so much. I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
We are
Great, man.
good.
Excellent.
I'm excited
Yeah.
to laugh and have sore cheeks by the end of this show. Seriously, I jumped into your stream a couple times randomly, and one of them, I think it was earlier this week. I don't know what you were doing, but it was the weirdest topic of conversation, and I was just like, "What did I walk into?"
I mean,
So
I
was
found.
like, every so often it sounds like your things get off the rails, but it's very
Oh,
fun.
absolutely. I think that that's actually the best way to stream. I find that the best way to stream is literally just trying to provoke reaction, because if you're and I feel like that's why my community and my chat tends to be so interactive, because I do anything I can to like rile them up. So I'll, be sassy with them and I'll bring up weird topics and they'd be like, "What are we talking about?" But it does kind of come up with these kind of like, "What is going on here?" type moments. When people really first come into the stream,
Yeah.
and they're like, what is going on here? But it's nice because I think it kind of means that the community sort of self-selects, right? So the people who really like that will stay, and the people who don't leave and, find somewhere that they'd rather be. So that's great for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Travis, would you like to get this started?
Yeah, if I could. So you in Ibontus's intro and in the survey you filled out, you talk about how your first shooter was a Bungie shooter. Can you talk
Absolutely.
about how
Yeah.
you fell in love with Bungie shooters and your kind of your trajectory toward discovering Destiny eventually?
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I think that I don't know, and I don't know why, but I feel like I'm always attracted to video games because I have friends or people that I know that are playing them. And so for me, Halo Reach was my first-person shooter. I've been playing other types of games before that, but my sister, actually, funnily enough, was really into the Halo franchise, and it just turned out that Halo Reach was the game that was out at that particular time. And so I picked it up so I could play with her online, because we were, we weren't living with each other anymore. So it was a way for us to kind of connect and hang out with each other online. And, I know a lot of people did that during COVID and stuff like that. It's a nice way to kind of socially connect with people long distance. But we would just log on, go into big team battle, get a warthog. She'd be driving around and I'm like, I get the gun and I'm like in the back, like shooting people. And we'd be hollering all over the place. Like, I mean, we had so much fun. I think, but definitely, I think that Halo was kind of where I kind of fell in love with first-person shooters. I really liked a lot of the objective-oriented type maps and stuff like that. Like I liked, I always went for the hammer first in Halo Reach. I did play Call of Duty also, and I played a little bit of Kill Confirm, but didn't get as much into the shooter there. I think that for me, the Bungie shooters, the time to kill tends to be a little higher, so it gives you a little more reaction time. It tends to be a little more accessible, and for me, that's more fun. 'Cause I'm in it to like go in and be goofy and have fun.
Nice.
So also kind of sad that Destiny doesn't really have any vehicle PvP maps currently. I know there was one in Destiny 1 that was not very successful. But I mean, honestly,
it was supposed to be part of their formula, and I think it's actually part of the code that they had that didn't really translate over. Because I know Destiny has some of the Blam code in it, doesn't it? Do either of you guys know the story there? the Blam is the engine that Halo was built on, and that
Oh.
they
Oh,
only got
interesting.
rid of. They only got rid of Blam with Halo Infinite. They were using it all the way from Halo
Oh,
Combat
wow.
Evolved through
Yeah.
to Halo 5
So
Guardians.
that wasn't proprietary, like when they sold Halo.
Free
No,
for free got
I
the
think
engine.
they kept part of the Blam engine in Destiny, if I'm not mistaken. I'm sure somebody will correct me on this, but
Converted it to
I'm pretty
Tiger or whatever it is that they call it now.
yeah, I think it ended up some of that ended up becoming part of Tiger, or at least some of the people who worked on it were there. But
Interesting.
the vehicle part is like a part of the Blam engine that I feel like never really translated to Destiny
No,
for some
it
reason.
really
And they gave
never
up on it
did.
way too
Yeah.
quick, in my opinion. I feel like they could have developed it, and they were just like, nah, let's just drop all the big maps and just never talk about vehicles again. It's super weird.
It's
part
kind of
Destiny.
sad because the vehicles were really, really fun in Halo Reach. They were so much
For
fun
sure.
in Halo Reach, and they really were not fun in Destiny 1. There was literally
They
one
weren't.
map. You could get in the vehicles in that one map, and it didn't really benefit you that much strategically. So it was
Yeah.
why
And then they ended up
everyone
taking
hated
away
that
those
map.
maps. And the vehicles were gone, yeah. Which is
Yeah.
weird. Because there was that one on the moon, I think is the one you're talking
Yeah,
about, the
first
first
flight.
one.
Yeah,
There was
yeah,
one
the
on
moon
Mars
map.
at some
But
Yeah.
then they added one on
there was
Mars.
another one? I
Yeah,
can't remember that one.
exactly. And they
Yeah.
took that one away. The Mars
Yeah.
one came later. I think that was with the third DLC or something. But they
Yeah.
removed it. They were like,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
It
bye.
didn't last.
But there definitely is a similarity in terms of this sort of Halo gun feel and the gun feel in Destiny. And I think that's one of the reasons why the game is addictive, is that sort of like the way that the guns feel to play with. They're individual, like the sound that they make is interesting. You know, I think that there's no shooter that I've ever picked up that plays as fun as Destiny in terms of gunplay.
Yeah.
But I think that Halo definitely, you could like. I think that sort of my enjoyment of Halo and how that felt definitely translates to how some of the reasons how I really
Right.
enjoy Destiny. Also,
Did you check out the new Halo, the Halo Infinite game at all?
I haven't actually. There's like just
Oh,
way
wow.
too much to do in Destiny right now. It's
That's
just
true,
like,
that's
what
true.
am I supposed to find time for that? But yeah, is it good? Do you
Yeah,
like it?
Halo Infinite weirdly has been a great outlet for us PvP mains who have sort of been
Mhm.
scorned for a while.
Fair.
for,
Yeah, that is an
by
absolute fair
Bungie.
comment. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So but as a PvE main, which you are,
Yeah.
you
Yes.
probably just have so much to do that you're.
Oh,
not
I'm having a
really
great
kind
time.
of-
Game is in a great place. Absolutely.
We hurting over on the PvP side. let me tell
I
you.
understand.
Talk
I'm
about
so
that
sorry.
one.
I
Yeah.
definitely have some friends that are PvP players, and I know that they've kind of promised in some of the TWABs that they're going to, renew focus, add new maps.
It's
But
looking
there's
like
a lot
promises.
that needs to be
2019
done.
Might
Yeah.
be that time.
Yeah.
But I was like, I
can't
wouldn't hold
eat
your breath much
promises,
before then.
TiddlyWinks. Let me tell you.
Can't
Yeah.
eat
In the
promises.
meantime, we get to play around with Gambit. Yay.
Yeah,
True. Yeah,
we'll get
love
to those,
that.
Yeah,
We'll get to that later.
And experience, but yeah, we'll get to
Yeah.
that a little bit. But I want to kind of touch on just some of the games even before shooters that you've enjoyed.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously some old school ones, and I know even just some OGs that we all know. It's like, what are your just like favorite games? Obviously, Halo got you into shooters. Destiny, you can't stop playing for thousands of hours or whatever, like all of us.
Yeah.
But before that, or even like mixed in, what are your other games that you've like? If you had top 5 games, like where are those in your history of things that you've got?
Ooh, that's a really good question.
Number
Well-
one's Destiny, obviously.
Well, yeah, number one's Destiny. I think that it's always wise, so you don't become a burnt out, angry person on Destiny Reddit and Twitter, to have an alternate game to play when the season has a lull and before the new content comes out. So I usually reach for Overwatch. Funnily enough, because Overwatch is one of those. Overwatch is a game where it's a first-person shooter, but then all of the characters already have their own builds and their own weapons, and none of that changes. You don't have to grind any of it, so it doesn't take any work to get back into it. So Overwatch tends to be my game that I play consistently when Destiny has lulls. But I'm playing Tiny Tina's right now and really enjoying that. That's super fun.
Nice.
I
I reviewed that for IGN.
Oh,
Great game.
fantastic. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I'm really, really enjoying it. It's very, very fun when I can kind of like fit the time in to do that. So I'm enjoying that right now. But I like
What's your class?
I started with a Berserker and then I just unlocked the Clawbringer, I believe.
And you
Is
can
that for
pair
my
them
second?
together,
Nice,
right?
nice.
You can
Yeah,
match up
you
pretty
can pair
well.
them together and
multi-class.
I think
Speaking
I
of
think
D&D.
for my sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
I said
speaking of
speaking of D&D. Yeah.
Oh, D&D, right?
Tiny
I know it
Tina.
all kind of nicely connects, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I heard that the companion build is really strong. So I think for my next playthrough, I'm probably going to do that. But I'm still working on my first playthrough, kind of in conjunction with like playing Destiny right now. So that's kind of fun.
Nice.
But I mean, I like playing Overcooked. Have you ever played Overcooked with friends?
Oh.
It's crazy.
You can
it's
make
chaotic.
friends and also burn bridges at the same time, depending on how it goes.
Absolutely. I like to murder people with vegetables in Overcooked. That's my favorite thing to do.
That sounds like a Mrs. Doubtfire quote, just slightly wrong, but again, it was
I do. It's very fun. A lot of my friends won't play it with me anymore. I don't know why, but
if you murder people with vegetables, I think I figured it out.
I know why. Yeah.
No, but we were actually talking a little bit before the show, and you said Tiny Tina's and then Dungeons and Dragons, so I'm just going to T-ball this one up for Travis. You said you actually have played D&D kind of for the first time getting into it, so I wanted to let Travis kind of pick your brain on your experiences there.
Right. Well, no, it sounds like you've played D&D extensively, right? Is that my understanding?
Oh, no. This is my first year. I just started this year. Yeah. No, but
so
I hopped in. Yeah. I am a newbie, but I did hop in a game that's been going on for 5 years. So it's a very long existing game.
That's tough. Unless they gave you a really powerful character. They
did. I started out at level 11 and now I'm level 13.
Oh. So you're already unkillable at the start. I am. Assuming you're playing 5e, right?
I don't know what that is.
Okay.
But
I have no clue. You guys both know more than I do right now.
But
so 5e I've never gotten into. So
there's lots of different versions of Dungeons and Dragons over the years, and 5e is the current edition. It's called
I'm assuming
5th edition is what 5e stands for.
Yeah. So, no, my DM is just has all of the current stuff. He has like the monster book. He has like the critical hit cards, which he won't let us use anymore because we had one guy roll a critical fail and pull a critical fail card, and he lost 1 intelligence permanently, and no one will let it go. Everyone is like, haha, Gomar, you're dumb now. You lost an intelligence point permanently. So we don't do critical hit cards anymore, but he's got like he has this little like basement area, and like whenever there's a new monster that comes up, he'll like go back there and then bring out this new monster, and just that he's spent hours painting.
Are you doing it on Zoom or are you in person?
Oh, no, we do it in person. We do it in person.
Beautiful. Yeah, I hate doing RPGs over virtual. It just doesn't have the same impact, I think. But yeah, before the show, for those in chat who missed this, I was talking about my history as a game master and how that I don't play Dungeons and Dragons, but I play lots of other tabletop RPGs, and TiddlyWinks said, there are other RPGs, and I was like, oh boy, we're about to get into it. So
worms everywhere.
Oh yeah. So I got this bundle from Tiny Tina, and it has two role-playing books included in it.
Yes.
And I haven't looked at those yet.
So there is Bunkers and Badasses is a real tabletop RPG that you can
play.
Which is
kind of interesting, right? So you could actually do that. Yeah, I think I'm going to give it to my DM.
It's based off of the video game, obviously, but yeah, that I own that one. I probably own like over 50 tabletop RPGs. I actually used to review them back in the day.
Oh my gosh, you are a big nerd.
Dungeons and Dragons, the way I think about it, Dungeons and Dragons is sort of like a good starting point. And when most people think of tabletop RPGs, they think of D&D. But it's sort of the starting point, in my opinion. It's like, it's like, okay, casual, not really,
okay,
but
casual nerd. The tabletop, just Dungeons and Dragons. I've got 50 tabletop games. You haven't even seen my tabletop games.
This is normally not something people brag about. It's got to be.
I know.
This is a very specific circle that you can flex in if you're talking about.
Correct. It's not. Here's
you
the thing.
Walk into the bar. You're like, hey, girl. You want to see my tabletop games? Let's go.
You want to see my tabletop? Hey, you know what? You joke, but you would be surprised how much of a foot in the door that was with my current girlfriend. Okay?
Well, that's
she saw
good,
my RPG collection and she was like,
"You do. You have to find the right one." Although I have to say, a rabbit hole I didn't know that I would get into is the dice. The dice are so pretty, and I like anything that's shiny. Oh my gosh, they're expensive, but they're so pretty. So I'm super into
I keep it pretty basic, but some of my friends have like over 200 dice, and they bring them over every time we play RPGs, and I'm like, you're not going to need any of those, right? And they're just like, but I want them here.
I like them.
Yeah, I want to show them off, and they're always talking about it.
It's made of meteor rock, and it was sculpted by blind nuns.
Right. G-Man, I'm not an elitist on tabletop RPGs. I simply... D&D is everyone's first, and I respect it a ton. I just think that you can only play D&D for so long before you kind of want something different because D&D is pretty generic. Let's be honest. It's kind
And
of
then
just,
they made a Star Wars game, and you had to leave D&D behind.
They made a Star Wars RPG, which is far superior. And then there's also, I just love indie RPGs. There's so many great RPGs out there made by small teams. Then you can play them and just be like blown away
now,
by
I know this is going to be difficult. So. You can pick one outside of D&D to recommend. Only one
to recommend to someone.
Yes. So you're like, all right, you've played D&D a lot. I need one more. Not your list of 50. One.
It would depend on what type of player they are, because there's some players that are really into the stat part, the board game part of D&D, and if you're into that, you probably want a game that's a little bit more like chunky. You know, it has more like numbers and math and like strategy on like you doing stuff. But the type of RPGs I like are really the story RPGs, and so if you're really into like the storytelling part, then I have a million recommendations, but the one I would give a shout out to, because it's kind of the one that I've been obsessed with for like the past 6 months or so, is this game called Legend of the Five Rings. It's a like old feudal Japan, dynastic China samurai role-playing game. And right, no, he would love it. He would love it. It's so great because it like basically the entire game is set up for like your character has like desires and personal things that they want, but they can't do it because they're just like a stoic samurai who's sworn to basically like sacrifice themselves for the good of the empire. And like, it's all that like drama and like putting aside your personal wants so that you can do your duty and your obligation. And it just has so much beautiful storytelling drama. So if I'm really going heavy nerd, that's the one I would recommend for people.
I have a question for you too. How would you describe yourself as a DM? Like, what's your style?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm pretty...
Do you do like voices and characters, or you?
Yeah, do you like get it? Do you like do the accents and like, you know?
Okay, give us a couple characters. I want to hear a couple of these.
Yeah. I want Joe, give us an example. Your favorite character.
Not in the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Somebody in the comments said I'm so alive when discussing this. You should see me playing as a game master. I'm like really, really into it. It's kind of disgusting. So if any of you guys are in San Francisco, by the way, anybody in the comments section, if you're ever in SF, you're welcome at my table. That's a real offer. I will actually let you come play with me. But anyway, yeah, as a GM, I say this with total sincerity and not as a brag, but I think I'm like one of the goats of game mastering, to be honest. And like like really
very
like
modest. Yes.
I mean humble, you know,
humility.
I just honestly think I'm really like unique. So I write my own stories. I put in like a ton of effort, you know, do characters. I even make music for some of my campaigns. So like I'll make like themes for certain characters. I go super hard on this, you guys. So
you have all this time invested in the story you created.
Podcast. We will eventually get there,
and we'll get back to Destiny. I promise.
We will.
You love these characters. You created them. You're so creative and original and unique and amazing and an amazing GM. So what happens if one of your players just up and murders one of the characters you've created, which is not
one of the characters I've created? Oh, that's totally fine.
In your storyline.
I have no attachment.
Yeah.
No, I have total attachment or no attachment to my characters, or I actually think characters dying can be like great storytelling in RPGs, but it kind of just
even
depends,
if it's unplanned.
Right?
You're able to kind of like maneuver
so you're
around.
Sitting at dinner and I just stabbed the dude next to me. What do you do?
Yeah.
I'm actually not I'm not one of those GMs who like railroads people or creates a path that I expect you to follow. I'm very much more open-ended. Like I have what I'll do is I'll create like a timeline of what would happen if the player characters weren't there at all, and then I let them sort of impact that, right? And so they have the total independence to sort of like do whatever they want. And this is getting super off track, and I love it, but we should probably go back
we can go back to Destiny. It's totally fine.
Just so you guys know, when I get into video games, I approach it from this this kind of perspective. It's the reason I'm so into Destiny, to be honest. It's kind of the same thing. It's RPG mechanics and storytelling and all the stuff we love about games. So,
well, for our guest Tiddly, and try and swing this back around a little bit here.
Sure,
a question in chat for do you have any accents that you are either good at or proud of?
Yeah,
that's one of my moderators, and they're trying to bait me. All of my accents inevitably sound like Mrs. Doubtfire or a horrible Russian accent. So
beautiful.
So no,
please.
No.
What is your character? Tell us your level 13 character. What are you playing in 5e?
I am I'm basically a tank. So I told my DM that I wanted to be a character that was similar to kind of a Titan because that's my favorite character in Destiny. Kind of
fits as a Titan,
bring it back, because I'm a Titan main. So I was like, I want to be a tanky character. In retrospect, I kind of wish I picked a character with magic because magic is really, really fun. But basically, I've got like more hit points than any other character in my game. So I basically get in the middle of it and then just but my character essentially she's a mercenary, but she was she was kind of trained in the circus. She ran away to the circus when she was little. And so she's an acrobatic fighter, essentially. So she uses double blades.
Oh, you're the main character from Psychonauts.
Psychonauts. Actually, I modeled her after Jackie Chan. I was thinking but kind of like more with the Japanese like hakama. Like she wears like this sort of like voluminous pants to hide her movements when she's being acrobatic and fighting. And so every time she slays a foe, she attaches another colorful like string to her pants. And so when she's like fighting, it's like she's dancing because she's like moving quickly and like
beautiful.
So that's
have you had art commissioned of her yet?
I haven't. She's very cool though. She's also very gay. She's a lesbian. I haven't engaged her in any romantic liaisons yet, but I'm hoping to do so in the future.
Beautiful. Yeah, unexplored territory. Yeah, that's the next step on nerddom is you pay for art done of your character, and that's how you know you've really gone too far.
That is really fun. I like commissioning art for my channel, so I could see where that would be really fun.
Put that on your to-do list, apparently. Well, 30 minutes in or so.
I warned you, man. I warned you. As soon as D&D came up, I knew it was going to be...
I knew it was going to be trouble. We literally said that before the podcast. I was like, oh, worms everywhere. It happened. All good. But we all have actually been playing this Destiny thing. Every so often we do that in between Elden Ring and D&D and all these other things that we tend to... I'm sorry, Star Wars games too.
Star Wars. I heard Star Wars Lego is amazing, by the way.
Star Wars Lego actually looks really, really cool.
I've heard
it really is like way better than I thought it was going to be, to be honest.
I've heard people are like, this thing has like so much more. Like, I've heard it's a much bigger game than anybody expected. I mean, I figured with the 9 movies it was going to cover a lot, but they could do.
It might be longer than Elden Ring.
I doubt that.
No, dude, if you saw it, you'd be like, maybe. Like, it might be. Like, the sheer amount of content, dude.
Elden Ring?
It might be more than... It might be more than 100 hours, to be honest with you. Because I just looking at the map, it's got open world. You can travel between like 50 different planets, dude. Like, it's crazy. 300 plus characters. I'm honestly like, I wouldn't be surprised if people had longer play times than Elden Ring on this one. It's so big.
I guess if you're trying to collect every little 100% or something, it might take a little crazy while. But
for sure.
So this week in the world of Destiny, since I may as well have a very horrible segue to get us over there. But thank you, Tiddly, for joining us. I appreciate it. We know you are, in fact, a Titan. So you are actually, since Cognito is not here, we have a Titan podcast. All 3 of us Titan names.
Yes! Let's go!
So what is
Team
your...
Mech, right? We must all be on Team Mech.
Team Mech? Team Monster or Mech? What are you?
Obviously Team Mech. I feel like...
Yeah.
Unfortunately, okay, here's my hot take on the voting, okay? So Team Mech... ostensibly better for Titans. I mean, look at how the Titan looks really good. It's going to look really good for the Titan rocket boots. The pants look like Titan rocket boots. It's awesome. It's awesome. However, the Hunter cloak for the monsters is definitely the best item in the monster set. So I think all of the Hunters in Destiny are going to vote for the monsters. All of the Titans are going to vote for the mechs. I have no idea what the Warlocks are going to do wild card there.
They're
but
the decision makers.
There are so many Hunter mains in the game, there is no way mechs are going to win. 100% going to go to monsters.
Really?
You heard it here first. I'm calling it. I bet you guys $5. It's going to go monsters.
Oh.
It's all those Hunter mains, the dirty Hunter mains. They're going to vote for the monsters. That's what's happening. I'm just saying.
I tend to agree with you, but I think Warlocks might go the other way. I see the
Warlocks are the wild card. They could shift it one way or the other.
They could change it.
Yeah,
I did want to take a second. Fork Boy with the $50 super chat a while ago. Thank you very much. Sorry I'm late, but wanted to say thanks to Cog, even though he's not here, for helping him get into the ILP clan and also doing a raid with the clan. It was awesome time. Also wanted to give a shout out to a random person who hit 4 million damage on the Rogue fight. Somebody's putting in some more. If you're doing a damage check at 4 million damage, I don't know how you checked that unless he had like this much health and died, but That's an impressive damage number for sure. But anyway, sorry, had to shout that one out. That was way too big. So
no
thank
worries.
you for it, boy.
That's a
for
chunk
sure.
of cash.
Yeah. But yeah, so Titan for sure. Favorite exotic and subclass.
Ooh, well, I am actually loving the new Titan Sunspot exotic, the Lorelei.
Yep.
I know it was nerfed, right? But I still really, really enjoy it. I was running Void Titan, so I mostly swap between Void Titan, the Kapow Arc chess piece. I love that. That was so much fun. So I do. Well, I mean, I guess those are the three I do, but mostly I've been running the Sunspot exotic. Even though it got nerfed, it's still really, really fun. I feel really tanky. I run it in PvE. I know that it's been moderately problematic in PvP, and I think it's kind of unfortunate they nerfed it because it sounds like the nerfs came kind of from the PvP side of things and less from the PvE side of things. And I know that it's kind of unfortunate when that happens in Destiny. It works the other way around. Like sometimes stuff is nerfed because it's too strong in PvE and it affects PvP negatively. But I think in this particular case, I'm a little sad that they nerfed it. But it still feels really good. Like I'm still really, really enjoying like the Sunspot build right now.
Nice.
Yeah, I know there's one or two videos floating out there that are like, hey, I know it supposedly got nerfed, but you should still use it because apparently it's still very good. So you're not alone.
It's so tanky. It's so good. And I usually forget to put my barricade down. You know, like I'm not really sad when it takes it, you know. It's okay. No, I'm not mad about it.
Yeah. I don't know. Travis, what are you main typically for your subclass?
These days, you kind of have to do Void, right? So that's
Void,
been my.
yeah,
I'm doing Bubble Titan.
So which, I guess that would be Void. I was going to say, yeah, Void is a big one. But I was going to say, I guess, do you want Arc 2.0 for your Titan? Or do you want Solar 3.0 for your Titan sooner? Either of you, by the way.
I think Solar needs more of a rework, personally. Because Arc is usable. Like, you can do the what do you call it? I'm blanking on the name. Middle tree on the Arc. Yeah, Curious of the Falling Star, Thunder Crash, and that's pretty good. I mean, that's what I've been using for damage on Rolk. So, but the Solar, there's really not a lot of use cases for it, and I think it really needs an overhaul, especially the hammer.
The middle one, the big sledge?
The middle tree.
Yeah, no one uses the big hammer. The big hammer's the meme. Although people do use, we're using the mini hammers for some really interesting low man stuff.
Yeah, the little melee builds.
Yeah, the mini hammers. The mini hammer builds with
Worm God Caress or anything like that.
Yeah, I've been. I mean, I don't do that, but I know that like 1-2 punch Worm God mini hammers, like all that stuff has been really interesting in terms of breaking the game, and I always find it interesting when people break the game and do cool things. So, but yeah, I personally disagree. I kind of want Arc to get buffed. I think Solar is maybe one of the more used across the board. If I'm not talking selfishly Titan wise, because I mean I kind of agree with you in terms of Titan wise, but I feel like across the board Solar is has more utility currently, especially with Warlock Well in particular. But also I think what I'm most looking forward to in terms of the 3.0 classes is the animations, because we were talking about that today. Like I love when I'm playing on a Void Titan, I love putting my barricade out. It's just like pachonk. It's like so fun. And then the shield throw, you're just like, it's like a frisbee. You're just like, you know, like I love that. I think that it's going to be really fun seeing sort of like the upgraded animations. It makes the playing more fun when they have those. I'm curious to see what those are. And also, I really, 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 really want them to add the synaptic spear that's in the PsyOps battlegrounds to the Arc 3.0. That would be so much fun. That is such a fun weapon. So much fun.
They had mentioned, like Kevin Giannis had mentioned something about that, of kind of the way the synaptic spear has the bigger jumps and like the double blinks. Like that might have been like a little tease of something that might be coming.
Right,
and
right.
I'm wondering what they do for the verbs. Because they said because we had the verbs of volatile and all those other words that defined void. And I've been trying to think through Arc and Solar. So like if Arc is, you know, fast, bad choice of words I'm sure they would have, but like blink or anything of that nature, and the Solar's gonna have burning and exploding and healing, and I'm kind of wondering what the 6 words they use for the other 2 are going to be. Shout out real quick to MRI Gamer. Love you, Tiddy, but Trav, be happy I wasn't in chat last week as your Destiny PvP elitist. I would have put you in your place. Love you all. Ibontus, keep up the lone player struggle. There we go. Good to have a little balance on the podcast. We got Travis is a great way to round out and bring different perspectives. That's why the 3 of us tend to make things interesting, and the guest just figures out who they're going to lean on. If it's talking about picky food, I lose usually, but that's the whole thing. But yeah, it's like I'm very curious what they do if solar leans into healing a bit more or something, and we get because
Yeah.
we have the well, and then we have our sunspots. Hunters
Right.
don't really have anything, and if they get something like that, that'll really kind of mix things up.
I mean, I see it as sort of the problem with the exotic glaives this season in terms of defining that particular burn, right?
Yeah.
So like obviously the Titan one is the bubble, which is
Mhm.
kind of connected to sort of like the protection, the whole identity of void.
Yep.
The solar one, what is it? The
Healing
warlock one is
little
connected to
bubble.
healing and solar, right? Which makes sense. That's all connected to like sort of like wells and healing nades, all that stuff. And then the hunter one is what? It's arc.
Chain light. Yeah, it's like a
Yeah, and you're
forbearance
just like
grenade launcher. That's all it is.
you're just okay. So I think that Bungie may be having a hard time kind of pinpointing that arc identity. I think that's like demonstrated in sort of the sort of weak. Well, I mean, I don't know. I know that they buffed the glaives recently. I don't know how good they are, but I've heard that they're
They just
just
made-
generally not super exciting.
They still
But I
suck.
feel like of the three, the hunter glaive is the least exciting because it's arc and because they don't know what to do with it, right? Because they
Right.
don't have an identity for the arc yet.
That actually makes a lot of sense because, yeah, it's like when you think about arc, you might have movement, you might have chain is the only thing I've heard them like chain lightning for like wrist
Sure.
runner and other stuff, but and then you've got lightning
Marcher.
with Thunderlord and stuff of that nature. But yeah, when
Yeah.
you get to the glaives, you're going, you literally do what a grenade launcher does. That's it.
Yeah, right.
That's not fun. Yeah, but when you said they buffed them, they took the charge from all glaives from 6 to 4 for
All
a
of
fully
them.
charge, and you're
Not
just going.
just the-
The exotics are still not. No, they're not worth your exotic
There's-
slot.
yeah.
They're definitely not
Yeah.
worth your random pulling your hair out of Wellspring. Because if you go through Wellspring and you get all of your frames, which I've done, and I don't have the Hunter Glaive, that's the only one I didn't get. I don't know if I'm ever gonna go get it. Unless they make that thing like
It's a
the
pain.
God Pokey Stick. I'm like probably
No,
not
it
going
is.
to.
It's. I think it's moderately unfortunate because I always think that Bungie does best when they introduce something overpowered
Yeah.
and then nerf it later. And I think that they really had a miss here with the glaives because the glaives are a really fun idea. They're a completely new type of weapon, and to introduce them not in an overpowered or like super like power fantasy way is really unfortunate because I think that like people aren't using them.
You don't
And I think
they're
buffing them later,
overpowered with
they're
the
kind of missing
suppression?
that moment.
Well, yeah.
you know?
Well, they just nerf suppression too.
Yeah.
So I mean, Paul
I
was.
feel like they were overpowered at the beginning though. That for those first couple weeks with the suppression, I mean, they had to turn it off.
Oh,
for
that's
raid.
true. The hunter invisibility
Yeah.
glaive. Not necessarily the exotic one, but just like the regular glaive with the invisibility build. But that's more so like the artifact mods.
Yeah.
That were,
Well,
yeah.
and that was the first time. Shout out to Tassie because he said this. Just it was the idea that they've never nerfed the artifact mods because they're meant to be
No.
temporary. They're meant to be
Right.
strong because they have a
Yeah.
short lifespan. Even in
Exactly.
even in 6 months, they let us have god tier linear fusion rifles for 6 months long. But the suppression thing's a little bit too strong. And I don't know if
Yeah.
they were just like people are going to run all over GMs or whatever it was, but. No, it was really weird for them to actually nerf those artifact mods because that
Right.
gives
Is that the
even
first
less weight.
time they've
I
actually reached in and changed them? I think so, maybe.
I feel like because I mean we've had god tier grenade launchers, then we had the crazy particle deconstruction like fusion
Oh my
rifles and
gosh.
linears were just
Yeah.
6 months of that's the only thing you should use, and then we get glaives feel kind of good for just a bit, and then like chopped off at the knees. So
Yep. I don't
really
even use
weird.
any of the glaive artifact mods, honestly. I think they're just kind of wasted currently. But I don't know.
are you a glaive
I
main? Travis?
now that I think about it, I haven't. No, I mean I play PvP. The glaive was never going to be my
Oh,
champion.
Have you
but,
watched two people try and like glaive each other in PvP? It is hilarious to watch. I won't even kill them if they're both going at it. I'm just gonna sit back and let it happen.
I'll be honest,
Let me
I
get you
have
with my
not even
pokey stick.
I've not even seen two people bring glaives into PvP. To be honest with you, so
Every
Oh,
so
my
often I
friend
get killed
Jake
by
uses
one,
them.
and I'm going,
Yeah.
what? I totally forget that they're in there sometimes in PvP, and then you get like kind of stun locked, almost like in Elden Ring, and you get the triple shot and you're down. I'm going, that's really weird. I didn't think
Okay,
anybody was doing that.
but there was part of the Iron Banner quest
Yes.
line that said glaives or snipers. And there were people running around with Hunter Invis doing glaives and doing pokey sticks on Iron Banner last Iron Banner.
Oh, even
Just
me as a
saying.
Titan, because I'm not going to claim to be a great sniper, and it depends on the map on if I'm going to have a shot. I got my 10 kills, all of them with a glaive on that one. I just, found a little couple close quarters areas. And if you do get the 1, 2, if you start that combo and you're close, you can get a 1, 2, 3 generally because they can't seem to really. It kind of does almost lock him in place a little bit when you get that going. I got my 10 kills. That was probably the easier part of the quest for me once I just got a decent map to do it with. Surprisingly, I thought that was gonna suck, and then all of a sudden I was like, well, I'm not the best sniper. I'm mediocre at best, but that was way easier than sniping for 10. So the big thing that unlocked this week was Grandmaster Nightfalls. And I saw you playing some of those, Tiddly. So
Indeed.
The big controversy was the patch notes, was the Acute modifier, which a couple weeks ago, they're like, hey, Grandmasters, or all the Nightfalls have this Acute modifier, 25% more outgoing damage, but you have 50% more going in. All the different levels, Master, Normal, Hero, all those things, but you get a burn on Nightfalls, kind of lets you have a little more fun. But they were like, except, in big bold black letters, Grandmasters.
Grandmasters!
Now, as many people as look over the TWAB, we're going to go a little tinfoil hat, I guess, here. As many people as probably look at, review, edit, maybe the TWAB. It can't just be like the community manager. Other people have to put the pieces in there. That was big, bold, black, like, big, bold letters. And then they're like, nope, never mind, switch that. That was totally meant to be there, and then it's because we took out the other modifiers, even on Grandmasters. Okay, bye. I hope you enjoy. That was like the big controversy. So I wanted to get your thoughts on that one, and then also, since you've played some this week, how are they feeling as well? So first off, what did you think of what happened with the buff? Were you worried? And also, how's it been going?
I'm not mad about it. I mean, it's possible tinfoil hat theory is correct. But I think that in terms of the like high level PvE content, I've experienced worse modifiers than the Acute modifier, honestly. And you also can build to compensate. Like glass. What was the melee one where they one hit killed you with the melees?
I know what you're talking about.
I can't remember
Blackout?
that one. That one was horrible.
Blackout? It was like no radar and melees are really strong. I know what you're. Yeah.
Was that the Thorin quest line where you had to do that like that strike and then like, you know, at the end of it, like there's just all the thralls that one hit kill you with that modifier. Anyway, that one was horrible. The Acute damage, it's awful, but if you're in a GM, you're gonna get one hit by things anyway. And I think that you're using hardcover most of the time anyway and other strats. So I don't think it's a huge problem. I really don't. I'm not mad about it. It does mean that you are sacrificing slots to compensate.
For damage resistance, basically.
Absolutely. Apparently, so our friend Eladio, Antarctic Wildlife, did some testing, and apparently you need to have 2 sniper resist mods in order to not die one hit kill from the snipers.
Yeah, I saw a video of somebody
with bugged.
Yes.
With like
I know
all
those
these
Scorn
mods equipped.
Yeah, those Scorn Raiders in particular, they're just absolutely nasty. But you know, I think that you just adjust your build and go with it. I think that I'm not super mad about it. And in terms of like playing the GMs, I'm still working on finishing gilding my conquer this time around. But actually it's just really, really fun. I think it's really fun that there's 2 new GMs this season. And I think the last one was Proving Grounds was the last new one that came out, I think. But it's really great because I mean, and I know it's tough because there's not a lot of new PvP stuff, but when you get 2 new GMs in a season, that is actually super, super fun. So those are the ones that I'm working on right now. I'm going to probably be doing those on stream tomorrow morning.
Nice. I was going to ask if you'd actually done, because I've heard the Light Blade is easily the
I
hardest.
haven't tried that one yet. Yeah, I've heard it's really, really bad. I think there's no cover in the boss room. Strategically, I've heard that like a lot of Hunter invis is really good in the boss room.
Yep.
I've been watching some people play it and actually working on redoing my Hunter build. I'm probably going to run it on Hunter, which is actually, I feel really guilty, but I've been running Hunter invis so much. It's just Void Hunter invis is so strong.
No, I mean,
so I've been running that a lot in GMs. I feel like I'm
seems.
cheating on my favorite character. Yeah.
I was watching Fallout a bit earlier and they were working through as well. That was the one he was struggling with, but he was running Invis most of the time. I think they had one Stasis Warlock, and I don't know if the other Hunter was Invis too, but Invis is like is the way to kind of get around the brutality, get for a res and those types of things. It seems like a very clutch, important piece of a build.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. I think part of it is just sort of, and Bungie's talked about this before, is sort of the way that they do level design. Whether it's strikes or story missions, they tend to do it in the linear fashion where you start at one place and you advance through an area with cover where ads are advancing at you from the other direction. And I think that they moved away from that. I can't remember what season they moved away from that. And then they were like, oh, we're going back to that. We're going back to sort of that linear design. And I find that the two new strikes or the two new GMs play very much in sort of that linear, old-fashioned, traditional Bungie style. You know how this works. Except for the boss rooms, because the boss room in the Lightblade strike, I think that's the challenge, and why Invis is so strong is because there's no good cover. You're gonna have to keep on moving. Yeah. You know, and in order to survive. But the rest of you know, my experience has been kind of just like, oh, it's kind of like what you're used to. It's kind of the same thing. So. Yeah.
So I wanted to ask a question because I saw it on Twitter as well. And you, Travis, me can all throw in. When it comes to the accessibility of Grandmasters, do you feel like they're in a good place? Do you feel like the time commitment in a season is like a good requirement to be able to access them? Do you feel like they could be a lower level even though contest is still there? It doesn't really matter what level you are. I was just kind of curious because I saw somebody tweet and I replied and a little chain was going. So I just kind of wanted to get anybody in chat can jump into. Do you think the 1575 requirement to enter a GM is in a good place, or could you do 1550 but just do contest in the same level of difficulty difference? Anybody?
Go ahead. I've been talking for a lot. So.
Yeah, I guess I don't really understand the purpose of the higher level if they're gonna cap you anyway, right? Like they say, you have to be 1575, but you can't be higher than 1575, and you're already, I think, at that level lower. How much lower? 20 lower, I think it is.
It's 1590, so you're 15, right?
You're 15 lower.
Oh no, it's
lower.
no, there's 1600.
1600, yeah.
1600, sorry, 1600.
So you're 25 below.
25 under.
25 below. Okay, that's sort of in line with what they've done in the past. So, most of the time when I don't do Nightfalls, Grandmaster Nightfalls, it's not even necessarily because I don't want to do it, although I certainly don't want to do it. But it's really more about that grind to getting to max power. Power is such an irrelevant number these days, especially with like the artifact modifying it and there being really no reason to get to max power. Doesn't really help you in trials in my experience, which is my best use case for it. And then really the only reason they have for you to seek max power these days is for Grandmaster Nightfall. And if you already don't like that activity, it's a pretty tough sell. So I've never really understood the purpose of it. It's kept me from doing Grandmaster Nightfalls when I might have done it in the past. But honestly, I don't think I'm the target audience for it. It's like, hey, want to do an activity you've done 50 times, but this time you arbitrarily get killed by everything, including dregs and stuff. It's like, all right, cool. That sounds super fun. Definitely what I want to do in Destiny. So, I don't know. It's not my thing, and maybe I shouldn't talk on it, but I really don't understand the purpose of the 1575 grind. I don't think that's a super fun experience. So,
how do you? I'm curious. As a PvP main, how do you find power leveling? Do you find it more challenging? Because I feel like there's less activities accessible to you in terms of powerfuls and pinnacles. Maybe not initially, because if you're really good at PvP and you're hopping in competitive, right, and you're getting those rank up packages for winning, that's definitely really good. Yeah. But like, what are your thoughts on that? Like, how is leveling as a PvP main?
I mean, even I'm a PvP main, meaning that's what I do when I get to the end game. But I still play a ton of PvE. So
okay, so
leveling's never really been a problem for me. It's more that if you really want to level and like be there in time for Grandmaster Nightfall, you have to do activities you don't enjoy. Like you got to play Gambit, a couple matches a week and stuff like that. Where I've just been like, I'm good. I don't want to do that. So that's sort of been my problem. Is I almost never reach max level because I just want to do the stuff that's fun. I don't want to hate Destiny. And if you want to get to max power, sometimes you got to do stuff that's probably going to make you hate Destiny a little bit more. And so just as a policy over the years, I like to have a positive relationship with Destiny when at all possible. So I tend to just stick to the stuff that is actually fun and try to ignore the things that are more beneficial but that would make me pissed off. And grinding strikes, grinding Gambit, that sort of stuff. It's like, I know this isn't going to be fun for me. Let's just accept that I'm not going to be max power and be at peace with that is basically my because you don't really need it for trials. Honestly, 6-7 power isn't going to affect you. It really is not. It's not going to make you or break you if somebody's at max power and you're not. So
So my answer is it doesn't really bother me. I think for me, I do enjoy doing high level PvE content, and so for me, it kind of goes back to why I was interested. Like the question you asked, like, why did you start playing Halo Reach?
Yeah.
I play video games so I can play with my friends, and so if my friends are interested in doing Grandmasters, then I'm going to. Well, first of all, that's not where I started my grind this season. I started my grind this season because I wanted to be able to do Vow of the Disciple because I love raiding.
Yeah.
So when that, I was like, okay, I need to be ready for Vow of the Disciple. So I'm gonna like kind of work on that. I'm gonna grind because I want to play with my friends. I want to like play this raid with my friends. So hit that, played Vow, and then the next kind of marker is, oh, I have to be ready to do Grandmaster Nightfalls when they come out with my friends, right? So like grinding, able to do GMs, and then the next one. I'm like already a little exhausted and I'm like, oh my God, I have to get to 1590 to be able to do Master Vow with my friends. Oh, this is kind of a lot. But at the same time, I'm still motivated to grind. I think part of it is probably unlike you, I do enjoy like the high level PvE stuff. And I think part of it is I have a high boredom tolerance. And it's also probably why I play Destiny a lot, because I have a high level of tolerance of repetitive activities. But
You're in the right place.
Don't say that.
You are describing a certain
them.
type of player. You're describing Bungie's favorite type of player.
I am their favorite player. No, I really do. So but ultimately the motivation for me in terms of the grind is always friendship and always playing with buds. And I like things that are hard, and I like being able to like go in there and prove them. If you go into a GM, you're the last person alive, you clutch it up, you make that big play, I don't get to do that in PvP. I don't get to 1v3 and just be like, oh my God, I hit that collab, and oh my God, I clutched that up and we won. Like I can't do that. I don't have the fast twitch muscles to do that. PvE gives me those big gamer moments that I crave, and I enjoy doing that with my friends. So I don't mind putting in the hours and doing the grind in order to get there.
So let me ask you this.
Bungie loves you.
Yeah, they do. But let me ask you this. If you got to do the same activities, same level of challenge, difficulty, and hero moments, but you didn't have to grind to do it, would that be a more favorable situation?
That's a good question, and I don't have a good answer for that. I think part of the reason that GMs are fun is the sort of exclusivity, which comes from people who aren't like that. You're in an exclusive group if you do put in that much time in order to get to the level to be able to do them. So I think, which is a very streamer, you get to play 4 hours away from your job.
True. It's also something. It's also something that I would get flamed for saying if I said it about trials. Yeah.
Absolutely, and I totally get that. But I don't know. I definitely see that aspect of it. I would love to play with as many friends as possible. There's certainly like for even today, like there was somebody in my stream who's like, oh, I would love to do a GM with you. And this is somebody who's like consistently gotten Conquer, somebody who's consistently like a really good player. He was like, well, I've been playing Genshin Impact because I'm bored with Destiny, and so I'm not leveled. I'm like 6 under, and I can't play this GM with you. And like, stuff like that. That's really disappointing.
That's kind of my point.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's where I sort of see the argument. Like, oh yeah, that sucks. Like, I would love to just pull this person in. I know it's not that he's a bad player. He's one of the best players I know. He just didn't care to play the game enough to get to 1575
or have the time. That's another really good argument. Is like, what if you just don't have the time to put in like. With the game reviews that I do, my gaming hours are pretty precious to me. My free gaming hours, where I'm not having to play. And I just feel like if your main goal is to play with your friends, the power grind is actually limiting how many friends you could play with. So I totally get it, and I, at the risk of sounding also elitist, I understand the desire to kind of be in that group of like people who are at that level, and you're like, oh, we can do Endgame stuff. I'm sure, but I understand it. Like I get that because there is a certain amount of satisfaction to be like, I did it. I'm standing on the mountaintop.
So I'll just play devil's advocate for the joys of chat. Please. But it's also, it depends on time. Like I've actually been lucky enough this season to have a very consistent raid group on Tuesdays. My Titan is past 1575, so I can do them. I just haven't done them this week yet. I've been hooked on Elden Ring, but that's what you said is you have that skilled friend. His only limitation right now is the time to repeat that treadmill to bump that number up. And that's it. Yep. And that's, I guess, why when you say, I like being in that elite club, and it's like, Are you saying the elite club where I have more time than you versus I have more skill than you? And that's where it gets into very interesting because you're saying he's just as good as you. And you're like, hey, you guys play together, cool,
better.
going down
He's a
this
better
thing.
player than me for sure.
And again, it's like his limitation is just the fact that time is the limitation. And that's where, again, that is why I loved contest raid mode. Shout out real quick to Iron Lord's podcast. Cog, we do miss you as well. Hi, Tiddly. The ninja is down, but not out. He is in chat. Thank you, sir. So he is watching. He is here in the comments. Thank you for the $20 super chat. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Did he just give himself $20?
Yeah, I was going to say, well, I'm just going to give you some of that back. That's just weird.
I really hear you. And I know that like being at the power level that I'm at is definitely related to the fact that I have a lot of privilege in terms of the amount of time that I can commit to video game. And that has nothing to do with my actual skill in the game, right? And then in terms of accessing the game, like I understand that not everybody can access that amount of time in order to, to get there. So, I mean, I think it's an absolutely valid point. Yeah. I sort of see both perspectives. I think on the alternate perspective in terms of like in favor of the grind, it makes the game replayable, right? It gives you something to do. It gives you a goal to kind of shoot for, which is what Bungie wants. That's why it's in there, right? And honestly, like I think the game I think Destiny's been critiqued in the past because people hit max or people got to that
ran
sort of,
out
like,
of things to do.
spot.
Yeah,
they ran out of things to do. So I think but that's a conundrum, and it's not. There's no good answer, right? Because you're talking about an engineering problem. You're talking at a problem of optimization because you want to get to a point where people can access the content they want to play, and you have enough grind to keep people occupied and engaged in the content. So that's an optimal point. And has Bungie hit that with the GMs or like I said, I'm exhausted in terms of grinding for the master
I kind of think
how they hit that point of optimization. I don't know. I think that's a good question.
Yeah.
I think there kind of is a good answer, at least in my mind. From what I would hope that they would achieve is that they make all of the mandatory content easily accessible, and I think they've done a great job of that. Like playing the raid, especially even on day one, was like more accessible than I think it's ever been. Like they got it on a Saturday. They made the grind not hard. They made it so that you can power boost by doing the Become Legend version of the story mode, and then you can still do Nightfalls. You just can't do the Grandmaster versions. And even trials, they've opened up a lot of doors for that. As regardless of what you think about that, they've made it so that lots of people can play that mode now, and even can play it in solo queue.
Yeah.
But I think that they have to make the grind for the hardcore people who want things to do every day, who want to live in Destiny, and they have to give that outlet, but they have to make it optional so that the people like me who definitely don't have time for that kind of grind, the people with kids, the people with, jobs and that sort of stuff where they can't dedicate all of it, they don't feel like they're missing out. They don't have FOMO over it. And I feel like Grandmaster Nightfall and the Master Raid are good examples where I respect the people who grind it out, but I personally don't feel FOMO because I got to play Nightfalls and I got to play the raid on the normal modes, and I don't feel like I'm missing out a ton. So I actually think Destiny's probably in the best spot it's ever been in terms of accessibility and balancing that with the no-lifers who want to just like live in Destiny with their all their gaming hours.
They're trying to make everybody happy, right?
Yeah, and they'll
I think they're doing a pretty damn good job.
It was like they'll never perfectly balance, as you said, that balancing scale. It's always going to be moving a little bit back and forth.
Yeah.
Is this person happy? Is this too easy? Is this too hard? Too much time? Too little time?
Right.
There's just a lot of factors that go in.
Yeah.
And then it also just kind of depends on, also as we talk about sometimes, is the reward worth the grind? That's the other side that sometimes they hit and sometimes they don't. So when it comes to Grandmaster Nightfalls, if you guild your Conqueror title, will you keep grinding Grandmasters, or is that all you're mostly doing that for?
Oh, I definitely will.
Okay.
I just
are you doing carries, or are you just like? Hey,
no, I just like playing them with friends. I just think they're really fun. I usually finish my Conqueror, and then after that, I'm sorry.
I said we found the unicorn, everybody.
No, I do. I like just playing them with friends because I'll guild it with my like sweaty buddies, right? Who are like really good at the game. And then I'll go back and I'll do it with my husband and our buddy Chris, and they're both full-time people. They work full-time it's really hard for them to reach that 1575. So they're just like, right there. They work, they spend the time they need to, they get up there. And then, I will go in these GMs with them. It took us probably 25 times to finish Glassway last season.
Yeah,
or 2 seasons. I can't remember. It took us, but I did it like in 2 tries. I did it in 3 tries today. Like, so it's like, but it's so much fun. Like I don't care if I'm doing it over and over. If I'm having fun with people and like that's the challenge, I'm enjoying it. So I'm having a good time. So I will probably will.
Like that, Elden. If you like adventure games, I can't recommend Elden Ring enough because it's like the magnum opus of Dark Souls. If you ever want like that variety and you want a challenge, sounds like that could speak to you. Is all I'm saying.
Shout out 2 seasons ago. Sorry. Yeah.
Shout out to Blink with the $10 super chat. I agree with Travis, but Travis said it, so I'm angry, and he should apologize. JK, love y'all. So, yeah, it's like
I apologize.
And you apologize as well. And
the other thing I think Ibontus is sorry to interrupt.
No.
Is you said is the reward worth it? And that's another area where I've kind of changed to thinking. In the past I've said the reward's not worth it. Like why would you do Nightfall or Grandmaster Nightfall? But now that I think about it, if the reward were too good, it would make it mandatory, and then you would have that problem where it needs to be more accessible. Because if you put really good stuff behind Grandmaster Nightfall, then it's like, well, now I've got to do it, and if I've got to do it, then I've got to grind to 1575, and then I've got to put on all the time with the mode I don't like, and then it sort of forces players to play a mode they don't like, and I kind of feel like they just need to make those rewards for Master Raid and Grandmaster Nightfall just kind of better, a little bit better, because the hardcore
I have to say
will
they
go
need
for
to
that.
figure out something with Trials also, because I am really jonesing after that Trials memento, and I don't know if I can find a couple friends to take me flawless this weekend or not, but I really, really want that. Granted, that's a cosmetic.
The Nightfall memento that does not look good.
I have the Gambit one. That's the only one I've managed to get, and that one is also
I saw a clip or Twitter or whatever it was for the I guess it was Grandmasters or high level Nightfall memento. That looks like a traffic cone on one of them. It's just like bright orange.
The only good one is definitely the Trials one. And okay, but that's a cosmetic reward, right? I feel like that doesn't necessarily make it a must play, but something that changes the way the game works, like Recluse is probably the best example of that. As a PvE player, I was so mad at Bungie for putting Recluse in a mode that I was not good at. So I had to play that with like find my sweaty friends to carry me to get that. The best PvE gun in the game locked behind like PvP content. I was so mad about that. So I feel like that's an example of when they put like you were saying, like when they have a reward, it's kind of like a must get and they lock it behind like a particular activity, so you feel obligated to play that in order to get that reward.
That's when people
Trials
get
Memento
pissed.
is not on the same level as Recluse, I think. I mean, because it's cosmetic.
Yeah.
But
For sure. Yeah, I think that's exactly it. And I over the time I used to criticize them like, oh, why do you go flawless on Trials? Like obviously I'll do it because I enjoy playing PvP, but I'll never do Grandmaster Nightfall because it's just not good enough. And now in retrospect, I'm sort of looking at it like it's kind of brilliant because it means that the people who really want that stuff will feel like they've got to do it, even though it's only slightly better. They're just kind of, but those people are sort of just looking for reasons to play the game more, right?
That's pretty true.
And the people who just want to get in and get out, and that's right, yeah. And actually, honestly, Ibontus, all of us are like that. Cog is like that. I'm like that. And the people that just want to like enjoy the story mode, play the raid, and then get out, they can do that without feeling like they're missing out on a ton. And I think that's kind of beautiful in a way.
That's what they want.
So,
they want that sort of that's
you
why
got
they
those, like,
started everyone
tiers
on the
of
same level
player.
this season.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
And they can all be happy. They can all be happy without getting FOMO.
They let everybody in at the same level this season. Bungie wants people picking up the game and playing it. Like they don't want people to stop the game because of FOMO. Although I have to say, with all of I'm a kind of person I used to 100% Final Fantasy games to give you that kind of idea of the extent that I will play a game in order to complete everything in it.
You're a nerd, man.
Well, it takes one to know one. Oh, so anyway.
Sure does.
So anyway, but when Destiny introduced these like seasonal titles that get archived, I lost the interest in doing everything in the entire game because at this point I can't. It's just over.
Yeah.
There certainly are people out there that have done every single seasonal title, and I'm just like, well, I can't get it, so I'm not going to worry about finishing everything now. I'm just going to do what I want to do. So in one sense, it's a release because you're freed from the idea obligation of doing everything. But
Yeah.
in the other sense, like you said, I'm like sort of like, you know, sort of like the dream player. Like I'm interested in doing replayable content. So are they missing out on people who might play the game more because, you know, they're archiving things? I don't know.
That's the technical limitation, like annoyance, balance, legal. I mean, you listen to Hogue, which is like, attorney that a couple of us know and talk to, and listen to his thoughts about the whole Bungie sunsetting content that you've paid for. Most of us did, at least. And you can't get access to it. And there's some weird ways, even towards the end of last season, when like Forsaken pack, and then the little campaign was limited, but now you can buy the little piece of Forsaken that remains.
Yeah.
The monetary structure of the game is still in kind of a weird state sometimes with what is and isn't in the game. And now is that weird time where we got an expansion and we got a season, but we lost 4 seasons worth of stuff to do all at the same time. It does kind of suck some of the variety out of the game. But then when we get to the...
Who's playing 3 of those seasons of stuff, though?
But also you take away a newer player chance to experience. Like if you tell somebody in season 19, that might be a PvP season, but you can go through experience Witch Queen, Season of the Risen, Season of Redacted, and Season of the Redacted, which are going to have some cool stories. You can come in and experience all of that. That is actually a good time. Where we are right now is the weird moment where we just lost a lot, and now it's a bit more limited again. So when you talk about the grind, and that also depends on where it's at too, is you talk about like grinding, and that's always the balance of... They did well to get to 1550. For all of us to get to 1550 was not hard. Like 1550 for the raid was cake. That was... I had one character. You didn't even need to like go between characters and have all your bounties. I had bounties saved. It helped with your artifact, but honestly everything else was just a bonus. But literally,
and then they gave you the 15, 20,
so you had 30
armors,
levels to go. That was beautiful.
Boom, done, easy.
Yeah, so that part's been the best ever. But then, as you said, you get into the time of, well, do I want to do my 3 strikes? Do I want to do my 3 Gambit matches? Do I want to do 3 strip matches in Crucible? Then do I want to do Preservation for like the 5th time, even though I've done this thing that takes a while to do? And you get to these other pieces. They did mention like Legend Psyops actually does have a pinnacle drop to it, but it hasn't showed it for like 7 weeks. So honestly, when I was looking at it, I was like, there's no point in doing Legend. But apparently I didn't know that was broken. Even then, though, it still doesn't seem totally... I think 1550 should still be match made, but we've broken that one as many times as we need to. But it is this weird... They are working with, like, a whole bunch of, like, puppet strings. And they've got it decently balanced for a lot of tiers of players. Like you're like, I'll play. Hardest stuff, I'll play. Master Raids, keep giving me stuff to play. The other person who comes in, plays the story, checks out the season, 4 weeks later, I'm going to go play something else. And they got the PvP a little bit, and that's where it probably needs the most help is PvP right now. And hopefully hopefully over the course of this year, they mentioned Glory, Playlist, and Survival getting a rework in Season 19. But again, that's 9 months away, theoretically. So
I do think sunsetting is a good thing for the game, number one. Because I think it kind of hones down to the content that Bungie wants to focus on and wants people to experience when they come into the game. But I also think Bungie has kind of gotten amiss in terms of introducing new lights into the content. Because I think as a new player, it's very confusing. Even as somebody who has played thousands of hours of this game, I still get very, very confused by it. And imagine just starting in the Bungie universe, and trying to understand what's going on. Like, talk about overwhelming. Like, I don't know, and I don't know how, like, what kind of fix there would be for that. But I think they're doing a great job with, making the base game free, with raising everybody's power level the same level when the season starts. I think all that's very, very good at getting new people in, but they need to do a better job of kind of like immersing people in the story. Yep. Although, like, for returning players, they've done a better job, like in the more recent seasons, in integrating the story into the game. But I think they could do a better job for new players.
Yeah, this is one area where I don't know if there's a good solution, because you see it with every other MMO as well. Like World of Warcraft is really bad at it. You can go and play that content. Same with Final Fantasy 14, you can play it, but like actually trying to initiate a new player into it is insanity. It's so hard. It's like, oh, dude, I swear to God, the game gets so cool. You can play it with me after 60 hours. And it's like, all right, man.
No, I'm good.
That's just not going to happen.
Out.
Yeah, like that was my barrier of entry. I never made it through the 60 hours with Final Fantasy 14 just because it's such a hard barrier of entry to get through. And you really have to love it all that way. So I Destiny is probably the worst at it though, because they took away a lot of that early
Yeah.
content, and now it just
Yeah.
seems totally disconnected from any of that story.
Are you in?
And it doesn't
Yeah.
it doesn't explain any of its systems super well. So I don't know that there's a good solution. Somebody in the comments says that Final Fantasy 14 does it really well. I totally disagree. I mean, I think they do a better job at explaining the game because the whole game is there. But in terms of actually getting you caught up and playing with your friends right away, like, it's kind of a joke. I just, you have to play through so much of that game.
Yeah, it is a lot of investment, but
it's two different philosophies. Play through it all before you can join the modern times. Or play through none of it and join in right away and be completely lost. And I don't know if either of those is really a great option.
I think the latter is actually great. I think that there's a space in the game where you could just jump into Destiny and enjoy the gunplay and enjoy the power fantasy and enjoy everything that comes with just like, being in that universe, I think the reason it's addictive is sort of your character, right? You have this character you become really attached to. You level it up. You give it toys. You play with it every day. So that's where the addiction comes from. Go ahead. Sorry.
I said, is your character a Tamagotchi? That's what
I have to feed it. I have to make sure I burp it and make sure I change its poopies. But you know what I'm saying? It's like I feel like that's the addictive quality. But if you can get people into the game and just enjoy the gunplay, enjoy how it feels to play the game, then I think they're going to be able to. I don't think the story matters at all. I think that give them a little bit of the universe and the story, but who cares about the story? Let them just enjoy playing the game. And I think where that comes into play is the PvP area. And I think because PvP, and that's where the PvP rework really, really needs to happen, and really soon. I think PvP is the only reason Destiny 1 lived as long as it did. I think it extends the life cycle of the game. I think it makes the seasons more fun. I used to just hop in, and I'm not a PvP player. I used to just hop in Crucible in quick play and just hang out with my buddies and talk and play quick play in Destiny 1. And I don't do that anymore because quick play is so not fun at all anymore for me. So if they fix that, I think it's gonna only help returning players, and it's only gonna help the longevity of the game, and it's only gonna help new players coming in just to kind of come in and enjoy how the game feels to play.
All right. Matchmaking on legend difficulty, yay or nay? Just one word answer. Nobody?
Nay. I know.
You don't. So not master. You don't think legend should have matchmaking?
No.
What's the disadvantage to you of it having matchmaking, since you always play with your friends?
Well, that's the thing,
I
think that at the highest level, if you have to work on builds, so maybe not legend, maybe master, yes, maybe legend, okay.
Because I can understand,
I
can understand master, because that is, you get somebody in there that doesn't know what they're doing, you'll never make progress. But master feels at a reasonable enough level with the artifact power, most people could probably get through it. I feel like. Yeah.
I think that. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I say yes to matchmaking, but you have to be level 1550.
I agree with that. If you
just put a level cap on it, they do that.
Yeah,
they do that in some. They do that in some modes already. So just make the cap 1550. That way you know that at least a serious player is in there.
Is going to join you. Yeah.
I have no horse on the race though. I wouldn't play.
But yeah, 15.
You're talking about like psyops, or
psyops would be one. Like psyops 1550, Nightfalls even at legend at 1550. Those don't seem like, if you get match made and it's got a check to make sure that you have the champions covered, and if you do, you're good. And then you might try and maybe leave the group if they're not good and try again. But I do feel, because I sit there and I do a lot of solo content, and you were actually talking about like the new player experience, because I literally just went through and did a video, new players against all of the modifiers that somebody's going to face if you look at something higher level.
Yeah.
Now, all the Grandmasters that you're doing, somebody's running Arbalist? Yay, nay? Is somebody running Arbalist for you guys? Yeah. So how does a new player acquire Arbalist?
I don't even know.
I knew you were going to ask
the kiosk?
Exactly.
You can get it from the kiosk, I guess, right? Do you have to get spoils and get it from the kiosk? I don't know.
You either can hope Xur sells it, which that's a crapshoot, Or you
Yeah.
get a random drop, which could be armor or weapons, and that's
Oh,
like
that's
every
so
1,000 you
unfortunate.
kills.
Yeah.
And that weapon right now in Grandmasters, I mean, there's probably not many
So
guides
good.
that are out there that say, hey, you're probably going to want this one. It's barrier, it's every shield, it's linear fusion, so you can get your crits and get a chunk of damage from range. So it's like, it hits a whole lot of buckets, and when you get into those, so then you talk about the new player, who, yeah, that was my recent rant video I did. And the new player who they could grind, and now they've put in the time. They've hit 1575. Well, hey, go grab your Arbalist. I don't know how to get that. Where do I get it from? I can't get that weapon because it's pure RNG. And that's one of those things when you mention the new player, and it's like, okay, because I've been going through like Lost Sector guides. I've been doing them on Master, and again, I'm high enough to do them, but I have options. But then I go through and I'm okay. I'm like, all right, go from Witch Queen onward. What weapons are available for a new player who started Witch Queen, loved the campaign, got to 1520 if they did it on Legend. Powerful grind at this point, probably didn't actually feel that grindy. They're at 1550. Okay.
Yeah.
And now they've got options. They need to hit Barrier, Overload, and Unstoppable. And then you've got different shield types. Maybe you need Arc, maybe you need Solar, maybe you need Void. And you get to the point of you need a Solar Pulse Rifle. Solar's like the big standout for whatever reason. Because if you need Barrier, it's Bow or Scout. There is one Solar Bow in the game, and it comes from Last Wish. They probably haven't done that. For Scouts, Solar Scout. Pallades Corrector, I think, might be the only one outside of another one. Again, Vision is in the raid.
DSC Scout. DSC Scout.
DSC. Okay. I was trying to take raids out of the equation.
Okay, raids out of the equation.
These are solo activities. So these are solo
people who don't have friends to do raids with?
Correct.
Okay.
But yeah, you can go grind out exotics and try and get these things. So
there's
then
also a blue scout rifle that's solar, I believe.
Please take that into a Master Nightfall and let me know how that goes.
EK does it. He really does. No, he does. He runs a blue solar scout rifle. Absolutely. I think it's the only one that's solar and has explosive. No, go ahead though. But I see what you're saying. Like you don't have access to.
That's the idea. So that was the long train of thought that I went through. Is like, so if you want a solar scout or pulse or whatever it was, it's like now we do have adaptive munitions, which is starting to help a little bit. So you're kind of getting there. But again, if somebody gets to that point, and as you said, the new player experience, it's just rough. That's basically the long-winded way to say that, is because the new player gets to 1550. Well, let me start looking on these lost sectors. So in my downtime, and I have to do this by myself anyway, I can start building out my exotic arsenal. You're telling me I need this like Tetris puzzle of overload, solar, pulse, and kinetic here, and then the burn is void. And it's just like with a new player does look at that, it's a lot. So as you said, the PvP will help. And I think just a little bit more accessibility. And I'm hoping when they do like Solar 3.0, a lot of solar guns come into the game. Because we haven't had a solar bow that's legendary since Last Wish, and that's been 3 years. So I'm going, how? We just got a Void one. We have like a couple Arc ones. We keep never getting solar bows. And then the same thing with Arc 3.0. I hope we get a huge insert of, so they really round out all the archetypes so a lot of different people have them. That's all.
That was the biggest problem with sunsetting, wasn't it? Because they sunset so much stuff that you couldn't, if you were looking for a particular, like I wanted to get like a void sniper or something like that. Like, or, I can't even remember, I don't remember what I was looking for, but I was like, this literally does not exist in the game currently.
Mm-hmm.
I had one, but it was sunsetted and I deleted it. And now I don't have anything to fit that particular slot. Yep. So I see what you're saying. I think that like for new people coming in, all of that is extremely overwhelming. And how do they even get there?
Yeah.
I think that it's like some of the, I think that when they introduce intrinsic champion to some of these exotics, that helps a little bit if the exotic's accessible, right? And I think that helps a little bit, but I definitely see your point. That's like, if you're coming into the game, like, how do you get enough of these pieces of the puzzle in order to be able to complete these high level activities that require you to have champion stuff equipped? It's hard.
Yeah.
I get
New players have a hell of a treadmill ahead of them. That's for sure.
That's tough.
I'm going to take like 60 seconds. Gambit Labs invasion switching. I wanted to ask first, before this came out, did this sound fun? Because basically the way it works, at 40, and I don't remember the other number when you get the invasion. Maybe it's 75?
I think it's 75.
Yeah.
I think it's 75.
Your team, when you dunk, you decide when the other team's invasion portal opens. How does that sound like it would play out before you even start? So Travis, I know Tiddly, you've played a little, but you got to experience it. Travis, I don't think you have yet. So in your head, where do you think the strategies are going to go, or how do you think that's going to go down?
So I think we talked about this on the show when it was announced that they were going to
Yeah.
try this. And my first reaction was, that seems like how it should work to me. Is like based on the other team's progress you get to invade rather than your own progress, because I don't know, that just, it seems more like why did they do it the other way, where you scoring opens up the portal so that you can enter the other team? So different philosophies. I honestly, Gambit just has so many other problems. I think that this is such a minor change. I was just like, all right, cool, maybe that'll work better than the current system, but I still don't think it's going to fix this really just awful experience that I get when I play Gambit. So I was not looking forward to it.
Speaking about a
I
bad,
have not played it.
a bad new player experience, there's like not even a tutorial to Gambit. But anyway,
I
so
know,
Tiddly,
dude. It's so bad. It's so bad.
what are these things
Solo
that fall on
queuing
the
feels
ground but
terrible.
sometimes fall through the floor? No, I'm just, so Tiddly, you've played, even if it was like a match or two, what'd you experience, or what are your just thoughts on this experiment?
I think, okay, so first of all, it doesn't fix the main issue with the new Gambit this season, which is the damage gated bosses, right? Because that prolongs the torment of Gambit even longer than it should. Because part of the satisfying thing about last season's Gambit is how you could melt the bosses so quickly. And I know that there's certain strategies you could use to bypass the damage gates in Gambit, which I'm not sophisticated enough to do that. But I think that it doesn't fix that core problem, right? That being said, I do agree that, like, hypothetically, giving your team the ability to control when the other team invades seems better than giving the other team control over when they're going to invade, right? Because then the other team can kind of strategize, oh, we're going to dunk. Because that's what I was doing before the update. I was like, okay, well, they delayed the first invaded to 40, right? So you dunk 40, you get your invade, right? So what people were doing is, because the first invade was happening so much later, is everyone gets a big blocker. Everyone puts the big blocker in at the same time. You get your invade, you go in, you do your thing. So I haven't played it enough to know, like, what the current strategy is, but I don't think it's a big enough change to make the mode feel better. But I think that particular change doesn't hurt the mode. It doesn't make it worse. What I need to know is maybe they put this in the 12, but I don't remember reading this. I need to know what the invasion timeline how the invasions work once the primeval is summoned, because that was my experience today. The getting up to the primeval was totally fine. The new system for me, totally fine. But once you get the primeval, it almost felt like we were getting invaded constantly once we summoned the primeval. And we were winning. We summoned the primeval first, and then it was like invasion. We kept on getting killed. And then, of course, as you know, that's super unfun, right? Like I invaded. Like I said, not a PvP player. I'm out there cheesing, my Galahorn. I got my Galahorn. I'm running Hunter and Fizz. I'm like, being sneaky. I got 4 kills on my invade as a terrible self-admitted terrible PvP player. They had gotten their primeval down to a quarter, got the entire health back. How bad does that feel for the other team, right? But so that's my question. My question is, what was changed about the invasions once somebody's primeval is summoned? Because it almost felt like we were being punished for winning, and that also makes the game go longer, because what Bungie did last season.
It sounds like they didn't change anything.
No, it doesn't. It honestly, like, the change may be slightly better, but it doesn't fix the mode. I guess is maybe my summary of
because the invasion, once you summon the primeval, the constant invasion, that's not new to Gambit. That's always been kind of, at least in recent
and I hate
years,
that.
Yeah, it's not great. It feels like a catch-up mechanic that is unfair to the team that performed well during the hard part of Gambit, which is like getting the motes without dying and losing them all and all that stuff. So
yeah, and it also feels awful. It feels awful to get to the damage gates because you do get free heavy, right? But then you're like, well, I'm not getting the optimal return on my heavy if I use my heavy before the first damage gate because somebody's just going to invade and get it back anyway. Do I use my heavy now? Do I use my super now? Am I going to hold on to it? But then it's going to take longer to get to the damage gate and some of the envoys. So you're like, I don't have a good solution, but I just know that I'm still not enjoying it. I enjoyed it better. I enjoyed it better when they had completely neutered the mode, right? Because that's what last season, like before they introduced these changes, they basically pulled everything out of Gambit, made it like as vanilla and bland as possible. And for me, that was a better experience. And I don't dislike Gambit. That's the thing. I don't dislike it. I'm not one of like my husband won't even pick it up. He's like, I hate this mode. I won't play this mode. I'll play anything else. I'll play anything else except for Gambit. But for me, I'm like, I'll do whatever
Your
it
husband
takes.
is a
I
man
don't
after
want to
my
do
own heart,
Gambit.
for sure.
But like so there's got to be some kind of happy medium between that completely neutered Gambit that we had before the changes and this sort of like extensively painful Gambit that we currently have. I don't know what the solution is. Take PvP out of it.
I'm with your husband on this one.
You're just like, I'm out.
Yeah.
I don't.
Actually, you know what? I think I thought about this. I did some soul searching. I think I would rather play the Gambit playlist than the Strikes playlist.
Wow.
Interesting.
Gambit
Gambit is just like a.
Please explain.
Here's the thing. Here's my reason.
But see, I can mindlessly always make progression. Just on strikes, knock out a boss, PvE, shoot.
But that's the point. It's mindless.
But it feels.
It's never challenging.
You still get the satisfaction of like shooting the Destiny guns, making the heads explode, hitting your crits.
You don't think you don't get that in Gambit?
It does. I mean, you do.
You get the PvE part in Gambit. So
they both have that,
the
but
reasoning.
you just add frustration in Gambit. You have you may have the same PvE, but then you add frustration. That doesn't make it better.
To me, there's nothing more frustrating than entering this like bland, super boring, repetitive. I've done it 1,000 times, just mind-numbing experience that is Strikes, where it's like, oh, a strike I've done 50 times, time to do it again with no changes, no difference. I'm just like going through it. You could be in a coma and play the Strike playlist. Like without really any difficulty.
You are correct. That's not wrong.
It is mind-numbingly easy, and I just think I would rather play a imbalanced, imperfect experience where at least things are different every match because there's variables. And,
but is it? There's only 4 maps. There's only certain enemies on the same maps. They don't even have like a rotation of those. They limited the randomization.
But there's a little bit of randomization with the invades and the strategy and the team. And Strikes, it's like you don't even have to think. It's boring.
Devil's advocate. I do feel like the one thing that Bungie got right in Gambit is the power fantasy that you have when you're in the invader. Because I feel like the most fun moments I have in Gambit, even as a PvE player, is when I get a good invade. That is so much fun.
It feels good for a one-man army. Those do feel good.
They feel amazing. Like I think that's when I'm having fun in Gambit is when but the thing is, whenever I'm playing Gambit, especially if I'm like solo queuing because no one wants to play with me, like I end up fighting blueberries to invade, and so I just kind of don't, and then I end up stuck in this like situation where I feel powerless. But Devil's Advocate, that's really fun. Invading can be really, really fun. Like those moments can be super,
but the other
super
side,
fun.
How do you feel about being invaded?
That's terrible. That's awful. It's awful. It feels terrible to be invaded upon.
I figured out. Strikes.
Yes.
Strikes are the Xanax of and then Gambit is the bipolar disorder.
Yes. It's like I love this. I hate this. I'm never playing this again.
I think we figured it out. And then
I guess I'd rather be frustrated than bored. Maybe this is something I'm learning about myself.
Yeah. I was like, I mean,
boring is the worst state for games for me. It is the worst state, just straight up bored.
But that's again you don't have to do those that often, and you don't have to do Gambit that often.
I don't have to do Gambit that often either. I'm just saying, if I had to pick, I think I would probably choose Gambit.
Strikes are the Brussels sprouts of Destiny, and then.
Although I have to say, when things become boring in Destiny, the thing that I love about the Guardians in the game, like the players who love this game, is that they find ways to make it interesting. And I'm talking about like different ways. Like when I'm playing a strike, even if I'm playing with randoms, I'll go in, I'll load in, I'll do a skip. And I'll pull them forward and I'll be like, haha, I bet you didn't know that was in there, like, and stuff like that. I find that super fun. Like learning sometimes when that's why PvE is fun. Like you've done it enough times, how to like make things optimal. And that can be super fun. But sometimes I don't, I'll
It sounds like you get joy out of skipping past Destiny content as quickly as possible.
You enjoy not doing it, finding ways to not do it faster.
Where's Teddy when he needs
How can I not play Destiny? That's how I get off.
Teddy.
Like, that's
how can I do as much of Destiny as possible so I can put it away for a while? That's exactly. That's how Destiny feels sometimes.
But there is something to be said about how like you can do strikes and not give it your 100% focus. Because I'll put up a stream on my other like monitor and I'll watch a stream and kind of hang out on a stream while I'm grinding. And I find that really fun because I feel like
I'll watch TV shows. That's
you watch TV shows. Yeah. You can put up a podcast like this podcast or whatever. And then you're engaging in an enjoyable activity, and feeling like you're getting stuff done. Because I think at its core, video games are a weird thing, right? And this is just my theory, right? Because what are we doing? We go to work, oh, well, maybe not now. Maybe we work from home, but we have this job that we're committed to make our money, and then we come home and what do? We turn on the video game and we start working again. Why do we do that? What is the compulsion there? The human compulsion. Why do we do that?
See, this is why variety helps my sanity a lot.
Yeah. See, I'm obsessed with working. So the reason I am a gamer is because it feels like work. Because it's not socially acceptable to work 100% of the time. So it's like, gives you a purpose.
But it's not real. It's ones and zeros. At the end of the day, it doesn't exist, right? You spend, $15 on some kind of like cool Fortnite skin. Eventually when Fortnite doesn't exist, that's going away, right? The amount of time, and I mean, the artifact is a great example of that. Oh my gosh, I got my artifact level to plus 30. Oh my gosh, I got it leveled to plus 30. I put in all this work to get the artifact level to plus 30.
But here's
Next
the thing,
season,
Tiddly.
Boom, take that away. All that work gone. Why do we do that? Why are we addicted to working in video games?
Here's the thing, Tiddly. You say it doesn't matter, but all three of us in this chat have found a way to make it actually work. We all make money off of it. Right,
that's
so
true.
That's true.
We work, and then we come home and we
the people
turned
watching
it into
the
work.
Destiny YouTube videos. We are the minority. Most of us are who are even hearing us speak right now. Very much the minority. The people who find YouTube videos. There's the people who just like, oh, here's this Destiny game. I boot it up at night and I kind of do some stuff. Like that's the person who you wonder when you said you're like, hey, how fun is this? Or when you get invaded, you're like, I'm just so angry, and you're like. That person who does go do their job and then come home and wants a little escape and gets so frustrated, that's when they do set it down, unfortunately.
They really have to love it, though. They have to love it. I think so, because for us, to a certain extent, it is work. Like, I have to play Destiny every week, otherwise I won't have anything to talk about on the show. So
But, okay, here's the question. Would you do it if you weren't getting paid?
I did before, but I think I had more freedom to not do it in the past, so... there were periods of my Destiny life where I didn't play for like 2 or 3 months, and I have not done that since I've been on Destiny shows. And so I think in the past I had more freedom, and I would not do stuff if it was pissing me off or if it wasn't productive or whatever, or if I was just bored by it, I would just check out of Destiny for a little while. And since making content for it, it's like, well, now I have to. So I got to log in every week and write IGN's article about Xur, right? Ibontus is in the same boat there. I gotta go see Xur every week. So that's there's stuff I've got to do.
Yeah, it's like, I will say for me, the healthiest Destiny is when I don't live it 24/7. For me personally, Tiddly's like, my brain just broke.
No, I don't either though. That's the thing.
I'm giving you a hard time, I know.
Yeah, I don't do that either though.
But like for me, the balance of when you do jump into the strike playlist just to be like, oh, I got to do a couple pinnacles, but I've been playing Elden Ring for 40 or 50 hours or anything else, and then you jump back in, it feels good for a little while. those things don't feel too bad in smaller doses. It is the point we get to, and as you said, that's where the extended grind, the treadmill feels a little bit longer, depending on where your level is. And again, as you said, you've always got people to play with. The solo player versus the person who always has friends to play with, that's also going to be a different experience too. The person who has friends who gets ready for Grandmasters and the raids every week, they have a lot of... You do have a little more challenge. You got a little more variety stuff to do. That solo player starts to run out, and then if they hear war stories about LFG, they're like, guess I'll wait till next season.
Yeah, no, that's true. And I think that's part of the challenge of grinding too when you're a solo player in terms of accessing pinnacles. I think it's really tough to get to like max power when you're just, like what are your options? You have strikes, you have Gambit. You can do the psyops battlegrounds because that's match made. You can't do the 100k Nightfall. That's inaccessible to you.
Generally not.
Like you can probably solo the preservation mission if you're like an average player.
Yeah,
it's not too bad. You can probably solo that, and that gets you a pinnacle, but that's going to take you longer, and it's not going to be as fun. Like your pool of things you can access are limited. I mean, just for pinnacles, powerfuls are a little bit different, right? But if you're trying to get to that 1560 base, a lot of the pinnacles that you have to get are locked behind friendship, or at least LFG ship. So.
And that is the true
the friend game.
And that is the end game. The friend game is the end game.
The friend game, yes. As
I think that's part of why we do it. To answer your question from earlier, it's like it is a social experience for some of them. Even if you're pissed at the game, at least you're pissed with somebody. And also, I mean, if this is what you do as a hobby, if you don't make money off of it, you're still like what other hobby are you going to do that feels more productive than games? You know what I mean? Like,
well, as somebody said, it's better than doom scrolling TikTok.
That's right. It's better than being bored. I think
I have laughed
it's way
so
more,
hard at some of those cat videos.
Yeah, they're.
I've been in pain
for sure.
before
You
because
can get
of
some
TikTok.
entertainment out of it, but like, is watching TV, does that feel more productive than video games? Like, I would say no. So,
well, but
I think
it's interesting that you say productive, because is that the end goal of your hobby time?
It is for
me. So like you're interested in things where
and is working
productivity.
Yeah.
So you're kind of addicted to working, like kind of in the same way that I'm like
for
addicted
sure am.
to grinding.
I'm super American,
yeah.
man. I'm like I'm living that American workaholic life, but for sure,
yeah.
I'm bought in.
I was gonna say, some TV is worth the experience, though, for sure.
For sure,
Absolutely.
But it doesn't feel like work. It feels like, you ever get antsy when you sit and watch? I do. I'm like super over TV and movies the past couple of years. I can't. I have to be doing something else as well.
My wife is a multitasker, and I'll like enjoy like the acting and the nuance and like the little character development. And then my wife will still get most of the show, and she'll be playing like Words
she'll
with
like
Friends.
look up.
Yeah, she'll be doing other stuff the whole time, but she still catches most of it. So I got to give her props for pretty impressive.
Those are terrible people to watch shows with, though, because you like look to them and go, "Did you get that?" And they're like, "Huh." Or they ask questions.
It's interesting because I feel like
I have those moments when I'm like, or it's like, hey, do you want to watch a movie that I know she hasn't seen? And it's like, hey, this is one I like. And then I'm like, are we going to watch the movie?
No, but they actually, I feel like television production companies actually create streamable content for that particular population. Like there's a whole series, like especially reality TV shows. They want the content to be interesting and fun, but not so like
not take all your attention.
Complicated that it doesn't have to hold your complete attention. They literally do that. That's why people binge watch these shows. They don't intend you to give your full 100% attention the entire time.
Nobody's paying full attention to Is It
for you
Cake?
To multitask.
No one's doing that.
I don't even know what that is.
Is It Cake? It was like the top show on Netflix like a couple weeks ago. It's just a show where
that kind of show.
That is a perfect example.
That's a great example.
Nobody is watching that full attention. No one.
No, people are doing something else when they're watching that show.
That's like a show you watch while you're jogging. You're like on the treadmill and you have it on your phone, for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, the last thing I did want to ask is the end of the TWAB touched on one thing that, because we basically blew through most of the TWAB. Shout out, by the way, to the Bungie Foundation. They do have the Kilts for Kids. That's their annual foundation with the Seattle Ronald McDonald House that they're working on, 11 years strong. Again, if you donate for that, you got an emblem that you can get, and then obviously some art in there. If you're generous and you got $1,000 to donate, you can also buy yourself basically a brand new headquarters studio tour. So you got to take care of your travel and all that stuff, but that basically is awesome charity donation. Also lets you go check it out. It also seems like the Destiny community had a good time in Reddit over the weekend. The r/place, when they make those really big pixelated pieces of art where people buy or basically kind of claim pixels. They actually made a really cool, they did a ghost, the Witch Queen emblem, Traveler, Witness, couple pyramid ships, all of this in just like pixel art. It was actually very impressive what they put together. And there's a free emblem. If you guys haven't got it yet, that's actually a cool emblem. I actually like that one that we get for free.
Yeah, the free one's nice.
But the big one is the end of the TWAB. And one, Freelance Trials is kicking off this weekend. This is pretty much when I play Trials because I know I'm not going to face a 3-stack. So I may win some, I may lose some, but I don't have to check the roster to know if it's just going to be ass-kicking each time. Because usually if it's 3-stack, I beat one 3-stack last weekend in Zone Capture, I will say. I was, and not me specifically, but it was like, there was a pretty solid guy on our team, and the two of us, we put it together. I think it ended up being about 5-3 or 5-4. It was close, but we actually beat a 3-stack. I was like, all right. Those moments actually do feel pretty good. But Freelance I enjoy because I never have to worry about that. I'm going to win some, I'm going to lose some, but I will get some reputation, some engrams. And again, for the solo player, Alacrity is a very good perk, so spend some time in Trials. I can't say that enough. But the biggest one, speaking of raids, Master difficulty is going to start on the 19th. I know Tiddly's going to be ready for that one because she's going to be level 1600 because she just grinds and grinds and grinds. We know that.
Definitely not.
But tune in next Thursday for some fun news concerning an upcoming rotator of sorts in Season 17. And this was actually probably the most exciting thing I've read on TWAB in a little while because I feel like they mentioned this like a year ago. It's been a while. And we have the Legacy playlist, and we have Vault of Glass. We have basically everything except everything that was on the Leviathan. Because you've got Last Wish, you've got Garden of Salvation, Beyond Light, Deepstone Crypt, Vault of Glass, and then now Vow of the Disciple. But they always just put the newest one for 6 months up there, and I'm sure when we get the new one in Season 18, whatever that's going to be, that's going to take Vow of the Disciple and knock off its pinnacle rewards. But it sounds like we might get a rotator of some version. Maybe they'll be bringing that to Pinnacles. What do you guys think of this? I'm curious, do you guys think they will do a Pinnacle rotator? Is it just that simple, or do you think they're doing something else with it?
God, I hope they do a rotator. This has been, and also this is sort of the reason why I think it's unfortunate that they've been vaulting so many things, because I feel like if you have a rotator, you kind of don't need to vault because it points people towards specific activities, you know? Because part of the reasoning that they said that they were taking out content was just to optimize the game because they couldn't keep it in there. Yeah. And the file size and stuff. I kind of don't believe that, frankly, just because there's games that are much bigger than Destiny and they do just fine. I think it was more about player base. Destiny often falls to smaller player bases. We're actually currently in kind of a smaller player base cycle, which is totally fine and I think healthy for games as a service games. But this would solve the problem if they would have just created some sort of like rotating playlist, or kept all the strikes within the strike playlist, or kept all the Crucible maps within the Crucible playlist. You don't have to take content out if you just will create these rotating playlists. And so I really hope that they're adding a rotator. I would love that. It would totally rejuvenate the old raids and the ability to play it, give people more opportunities to go for those exotics without having to get stuck in an old raid that doesn't reward you on the bleak hope that you'll actually get some good loot from it or an exotic that you're missing. So yeah, I've been on this train for a while, and I really hope that they do it because it's overdue in my opinion.
Tiddly?
I think it's a fantastic idea. I mean, the way I'm kind of picturing it is the way Grandmasters work, where you have like a particular Nightfall that's available, or just regular Nightfalls. How you have a particular Nightfall available that week, and then you have access to that. You can play it that week, and then it's a different one the next week.
Yep.
And then basically using the raids that they sunset, not Destiny 1 raids, just the raids that they sunset for Destiny 2, right?
Oh, you want them to bring back Leviathan?
I mean, I want them to bring back Eater of Worlds, actually. But I mean, I think there's a lot. I mean,
Are you
but
trying to
ask somebody else. It's
Trying
going to be
get that
Spire
solo
of Stars, or like, what? I mean, everybody has their favorite raid that's been sunset. Crown of Sorrows. That's so much fun, But so that's the way I see it playing out ideally, and I think that they did kind of mention that that there would be a possibility of earning some kind of reward for completing it. So like allowing that being a pinnacle activity, maybe not the way that Vow of Disciple gives you a +2 pinnacle like for every single encounter you complete, but maybe giving you one pinnacle at the end every time you completed that. Like if you complete it once that week, you get a pinnacle at the end of the raid. Something like that would be really fantastic. Give people the reason to play it.
Yeah.
But
so
I
do
see
you
that
think
as
that they keep the normal raid playlist, or does this replace it partway through the season once the new raid is sort of old?
There is no raid playlist.
You know what I mean? Like right now, the raid playlist is you have to play the new raid.
Oh,
Yes.
you
So
just
do you
mean
think
like
that
the,
they
the-
add-
like the
You mean-
pinnacles? Yeah, I get what you mean.
Yeah, I'm saying, do they is this additive, or does it replace the new raid after a couple?
I
of
would
weeks,
say additive. I would
Yeah,
say
if
that
it's next season
essentially it doesn't replace Vow is the optimal source of raids to get pinnacles, but then give them a pinnacle at the end of completing the first time, right? That week, right? And then give
be
spoilers
great.
of some sort, for replayability.
Yeah.
I think that the remastered raids like Fog, I think my understanding is that takes a massive amount of resources and time in terms of bringing those to light in
Yeah.
Destiny 2. It's not just copy and paste from one to the other in terms of the content. So I don't see those. I mean, I don't see those as being kind of like part of that rotation. But rotating the sunsetted raids would be so fantastic. I would
Yeah.
absolutely love that. And adding a title to that would also be super fun too. I would love that idea.
See, my curiosity is, one, as you said, you've got the sunset raids. I actually hadn't thought about most of the Leviathan, Scourge, that type of stuff that's actually been taken out. Because, again,
Yeah.
I don't know if that takes them putting assets back in the game, them trying to keep the game size down. I didn't think about that, but I would love to see that. Because you said it's D2, but again, I don't know how much polish work it takes to take the D2 stuff into, like, the newer lighting engine and stuff that they've done still within D2. Because they've done some engine modifications with Beyond Light and Witch Queen.
Yeah.
So I don't know what it takes for that one. But even then, if you take just the 5 that are there, the ones that we just got done mentioning, those 5, again, if you do, there's no reason to run Garden of Salvation right now. But if there's pinnacles in there, you got Sherpas that have a reason to run people through it. You've got more people that are going to have a reason to teach it and learn the different raids. And it gives more life to those. I also wonder, at this point, they basically said crafting is mostly based around the season that we've got right now. Season 16, Witch Queen. And then they said they were going to open up. Yeah, Divinity would be a good reason to run Garden for more people. But that's, yeah, you actually have to get that one on rotation. But then you have crafting is supposed to expand to Season 17 stuff, which we'll get some more. And then they said some older stuff as well. And I'm wondering if some of the older stuff, either if they're going to bring, if there's featured raids, if those could have some possible red outline weapons where you can actually start crafting some of those. I also wonder if they would do origin traits for some of the previous raids.
Yeah,
like if
that'd
you
be
have
great.
origin traits to
Yeah, I love that.
like Garden of Salvation or origin traits to Deepstone Crypt or anything like that, just to get more variety and more reason for everybody to run those again. Because if you could get another trustee or another, what is the sniper rifle in Deepstone Crypt where it's like reconstruction and recombination, like the god roll of all the ammo type one? I can't remember.
I don't know.
the
I use
name
it
of
all
this-
the time though.
Yeah.
That one's amazing. All the Deep Stone guns are amazing. The shotgun, the kinetic shotgun, they're also good.
So if you could
Yeah,
do
the
Trust
that,
me.
I use that shotgun a lot.
yeah.
a
So if
lot.
you could do that, and then now you have a reason to go back and you get an origin trait paired with it as well. Plus, if it's a certain family or anything like that, that I think would be the best version. Do I think we're going to get
Yeah, that'd be great.
the raids, the pinnacles, and the origin traits? Maybe any weapon crafting. That's probably asking a little too much. But I think the origin traits would give a reason for everybody to run. Because as you said, if it's like one pinnacle or maybe 2 pinnacles from a raid, once you hit that 1560, a lot of people will lose the reason to run
Sure,
that list.
Sure.
But if you
I'm
give,
yeah.
yeah, if you
I'm
give a
done with
little
doing
bit more
pinnacles because
loot,
I'm
yeah.
1560 base,
Yeah.
so I'm not going to be doing any more pinnacles. I
Yeah.
have no reason. I don't have to ever do my
Successive.
repeated Gambit, 3 games of Gambit a
Yeah,
week ever
you're
again
done.
this season. I'm
you
done.
never have
I'm
to
done.
touch Gambit. Yep.
So introducing raid rotators with pinnacles at this point in the season is asinine. It's not a good idea. But introducing it at the beginning of a new season,
Yep.
now that's interesting and fun, and people will play it until they hit
Yeah.
the pinnacle cap. And I don't.
I would
yeah.
also, I think we're all just talking about raids because it's the obvious one.
But
But
I want
I
Dungeon
also
Rotator.
think that they yeah. So I was gonna say they badly need to do it for dungeons as well. I think.
Favorite dungeon.
What would that look like?
A dungeon rotator? I mean, because right now you've got Shattered Throne, you've got Grasp, which is the pinnacle, but you've got Prophecy, you've got Pit of Heresy. And what if just
Right.
one of those a week is going to be a pinnacle, same thing. If you get origin traits in those, anything like that, just to give, because you have a lot of dungeons that's a solo low man level content. They're built around one person and then 3 people can do them. It's built for that other less sized group, like person. Either they know 1 or 2 people or they don't know the big group of 6 for a raid. That's the other side where I think that I really hope they do that too, because that type of rotation gives a different player base something else to go do. And we get a dungeon next season.
Yeah. Well, that's a good idea.
Yeah. So it was like, that was the one thing I saw, is because you just said, I was like, I love Shattered Throne. I have zero reason to go run it. Pit of Heresy the same way. It's a cool experience. Prophecy, like if you've never seen Prophecy, that's one of the trippiest things that you'll ever go through, especially trying to solo that thing.
I love Prophecy.
So good. The cube room,
Yeah,
the boss fight.
Pinnacles would rotating playlists with pinnacles would definitely be a reason to do it. Making those weapons only drop their craftable versions if they were in the weekly playlist is a great way. So they got a lot of tools at their disposal. I would like to see them.
I think the real reason to replay the older raids and the the Shattered Throne, the dungeons is like loot that's specifically tied to whatever that is. Because I was running, let's see, what were we doing? We were doing Last Wish, just the last bit of it. We were basically checkpointing and doing Last Wish runs for 1K when that was just so overpowered last season.
No.
So or I was running the garden initial encounter on 3 characters just for that bow. The garden bow is really good. It's really, really good. So, and once I got a god roll, I was like, okay, well, I'm done doing that. But I think that but if you attach something else to that, if I was able to craft that garden bow, then that would give me, as like you said, this like nerdy, I'm happy to do the content over and over player, a reason to run garden over and over, so I could craft a garden bow, even though I have a god roll one. Additional grind, I could craft one with maybe like enhanced perks that's even better than the current one that I have. So that's
I think crafting is like their solution to making optional endgame content for people who really are looking for things to do in Destiny, but they don't want to give FOMO, because I think the average player does not care at all about crafted weapons as much as the same level that they care about like god rolling, grinding for god rolls, right? But it's catnip for their dedicated players. So I could really see that becoming something they lean on in the future. And I say, just lean into it, because I'll engage in some of it, but I also never really grinded for god rolls either, and I don't think I'll probably grind for a lot of the crafted weapons.
Yeah,
maybe trials, but that's about it. So
yeah, I'm not enjoying crafting, honestly. Like I don't. Yeah, personally, I don't like the initial part where you have to use a weapon that's not good in order to you have to use a crappy weapon.
That's sort of my problem with it too.
It's not fun. It's really not fun. I would rather go into the game with weapons that I'm comfortable with, that are fun to use. So I haven't really been engaging with a ton of it, and I feel kind of like shameful
that's
admissions of a grinder,
of all things
that's very surprising.
Grind, that's like that one was built for you.
But come on, just go into strikes, man.
Go into
I don't want to
go into the strike playlist that you can mindlessly do while you're watching that show, and then take your sweet sorrow and just shoot stuff with that auto rifle.
I
turn on that stream, jump into the strikes playlist. Take all your red frames with you. Just grind out those.
God. Oh my God, the red frames. Don't get me started. Oh my God.
It's like that. The way they managed to make vault space somehow worse, and then we heard the currencies could have been much worse. Now you have this temporary 7-week window where you have these currencies, but then you're knowing those are all going to go away in 7 weeks. So why am I carrying? And then the neutral element went up by like 12%, while the other ones went up by like 400%. And that's just a weird math problem that doesn't make sense in my head. And we talked about that before. I'm like maxed out on neutral element constantly, but I'm sitting there like, I have 322 adroit element or whatever it is. I'm like, that's fine. The neutral's still maxed out. So doing all this doesn't do me any good, and I can't spend the rest. And then it's going away. So no, that's crafting. I'm hoping we get some good tweaks to crafting, but as you guys said, the tools are there between origin traits to give variety to some of the stuff like the raid rotators, the dungeon rotators, and then crafting as well if they make it less painful, and then also let me use the junk weapon for Because then you don't want to craft the junk weapon, unlock some of the perks, and get to like level 8 and be like, okay, it's not as bad, but it's not there. So then I feel like I'm wasting resources to then actually get it to like level 13 at least. Then I can take the good perks to use for a while and see which ones I like. And then maybe I'm going to go spend some asinine amount of currency on the enhanced ones, which most of them are not worth it.
And there's just only slightly better than the other ones, which, to be fair, kind of going back to the other point we're talking about, locking something that is absolutely so much better behind that kind of grind is bad for the regular players, right? Because then that forces people into the crafting system to get whatever is way, way better. I don't think they could have put out enhanced perks that were way, way better.
But
because then it would force people to do this system. And not everyone's going to want to do it.
This is true, but then on the other side, unfortunately, it makes a person like you who could potentially love crafting not find much incentive in it.
Well, right, because like I said, I've run the raid. I'm working on getting my red border weapons, but I already got a God Roll SMG from the raid.
Yeah.
So am I really going to go through all that effort to get a slightly better version of it?
Yeah, you never need... Same thing as like an adept weapon. It's not necessary.
No, you don't need it. No. You don't need it. Like, you don't need to be max power to do trials. You don't need it.
Yep.
Yeah. I can enjoy playing the game without it.
And that's kind of the weird part for like the end game of Destiny right now, is the fact that you get to a point where your loadout is good enough to do everything that you want to do. Whether you're a solo player working on grinding some lost sectors, whether you're Tiddly and you're grinding Grandmasters, but you have enough of a capable arsenal somewhere in your vault to get what you need done. And then you get to that point where, if you're comfortable, doing stuff over and over because you enjoy the content and you have friends, then that's the friend game end game. But that's the weird point. That's that weird balance we were talking about. And again, that's that constantly like teetering balance thing that they're like, what's good for the more casual player versus the end game. Right. You said you can't make it too good. But if it's not too good, is it worth going after? That's always the weird balance in this game.
No, I think that Bungie is always trying to sort of optimize that balance. And that's one of the benefits of having a game with live updates. Yeah. And it's one of the challenges, and certainly the community is incredibly challenging. There's a lot of people who are really smart who give this a lot of thought, who are very critical about the game in many different ways. But I don't know. At the end of the day, it's fun. We keep picking it up. So
yeah, we still have thousands of hours, so it's not like I hate the game. We just always want to see it a little bit better.
Absolutely, and there's nothing wrong with that. Wanting something that you love to be even better.
And then we got one more super chat from MRI Gamer. Okay, I'm back to send love to Tie Guy Travis as long as he gets me to the lighthouse.
Happy to roll
carries.
with you,
We do
man.
carries now.
There we go. We got
Happy
You're
to
available
roll.
this weekend?
I've helped some people on this show in the comments section go to the lighthouse. So yeah, happy to do it as long as it's not during a control week, because I stayed super far away from trials this weekend.
Oh, zone capture, whatever it is. Yeah, that was
Zone
that's
control,
but that's a fun Titan Bubble mode, though.
Oh,
you don't run Titan Bubble?
It is.
It was.
But
it was
it is certainly
painful to watch.
Oh,
it is certainly a Titan Bubble mode, but I would debate the fun part of it. Not really. Not really.
Because it became bubble and Venn diagram bubble that kind of overlapped. And then it became shield and shield and shield and shield. And 6 of them are stacked on top of each other. And it's a game of chicken of who's going to punch, wiggle through, get the shot off. But it was just like there were a couple like clips I saw on Twitter where it was a mess. Shout out to
really
DJ
funny.
Oris with the hashtag friend game end game as well, of course. But yeah, no, it was like zone capture with Void 3.0 needs the Solar and Arc 3.0 needs some kind of counter. That's the point where I keep like, I want those other two to see how they can try and work around that. And it's when you saw the double bubble go down, I was like, oh God, this is just going to be a mess. And then like shield. It was a bit of a mess. I played enough where it happened a couple times, and I'm on a Titan, so of course I'm going to be the bubble guy. And Titan Train was definitely running on trials this weekend. It was a bit of a mess. But yeah,
that's
normal
actually so
freelance
funny.
this weekend.
Normal freelance.
Thank God.
Thank God.
That was a nice, tight little 2-hour show. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about? Tiddly, anything else in the world of your mind about Destiny that you want to get off your chest?
Or D&D?
I'll just say that
We got
just
that
one thing. I always have something more to say.
No, you're good.
I think for me, like, part of the reason that people are so critical about the game is because they love the game so much. So I always try to be constructively critical when I'm critical of the game, and sometimes I ask questions where there's no good answer because it's just kind of out in the ether. But I think that's part of the reason that the community is so engaged, and also, like, in terms of conversing with the devs and everything like that. I think that people love the game. I think that and that's fantastic. I think that basically Destiny players exist in this state that's antithetical to apathy. Like, we're passionate about the game. Yes, we might get angry sometimes. Yes, we might get critical sometimes, but it's not because we don't care. It comes from a place of love of this video game.
Yeah.
So I see that as a wholly positive thing. I think that certainly it can be expressed in a not so great way sometimes, but I think generally speaking, I think that I love this community because they are so passionate about this video game. So.
No, I mean, that makes perfect sense. If we were apathetic about it, we probably wouldn't play it.
Absolutely. So. I'm going to complain about Gambit still, though.
Oh, that's fair. I mean, Travis is going to complain about
not
trials.
Strikes.
I'm going to complain about the new player Lost Sector experience. We all have our pieces that we'd love to see better, and it's the balance of Bungie and teams and live service and bandwidth to get everything done at the same time, which is impossible, and we know that. So we know they're building another season. We know, if you saw the development chart from GDC, that like multiple seasons are in development at the same time, and then we have to try and ask for these other quality of life fixes, and we get a couple of them every season. Not all of them work out well. Crafting, we got crafting beta 0.8 version. We're not quite at 1.0 yet. We got the beta. We're working on it. We got some ironing out to do. We got some corners to smooth out, but we'll get there.
Yep.
But overall, yes, I think that is one of the reasons we probably said this on the show before too. It is a game of so much potential that when we see a glimmer of something that we know could be there, that we even get more critical and excited because we're like, oh, this could totally be this we see. It's like it's just out of reach, and I wanna go grab it, but it's not quite there right now.
Right, and it's frustrating when it doesn't meet what we expect. But at the same time, I think we also have moderately unrealistic expectations sometimes, and sometimes I also think that when Bungie is at its best is when they throw stuff against the wall and see if it sticks. That's how Trials was created, which is arguably one of the best things that's happened to the game. So I wish every creative random thing for them to think of to add to the game to make it more fun. I want them to take risks. I don't want them to listen to me as someone who's critical of the game, because I'm thinking in the context of the game as it exists. I want them to continue to like grow and change and make super cool new things. And yeah, some of them are going to really be bad, and that's okay, but some of them are going to be amazing. And I think that that's part of like a live game experience, and that's partly part of what keeps us coming back, So
yeah, no, that is very well said, and I think that's a good way to wrap that one up as well. As we wrap up the show, I first want to thank you, Tiddly, for taking the time. I know it's a couple hours of your streaming and time with your man and all that type of stuff that we're taking away from. So thank you for bringing your cat.
I'm still spending time with my cat, though.
That is true. Yeah. You got Fluff. You are Conan Fluff. Well, thank you for bringing flowers onto the show. That is also a first time. We appreciate that. It makes the stream much prettier than these ugly mugs that we've got here. So we thank you for bringing the attractiveness of the show up.
Next time I'll bring my tie, though. I feel underdressed.
I was going to say, like, you've talked about D&D. You said Trials is one of the best things that was brought to the game. Like, you are preaching to the Travis choir right now. You have no idea
Listen,
how
I have some
here.
Amazing ties. I have some really nice ties. Bow ties. I can rock a tie. Next time I'm bringing a tie.
For sure.
Well, we will definitely have you back. This was an absolute blast.
This was so much fun. Thank you so much for having me. I love talking about this game, and you guys are great. I actually, it's rare when I'm talking to people about the game that they make me think about it in a different way, and both of you did that tonight, and I really appreciate that. So thank you so much for a good conversation.
Very nice.
Love that. Yeah. Stimulating.
Well, at this point, the floor is yours. So anybody who sees this in all the different places we put this show, just got to let people know where to find you, what you'll be doing. Yeah, the floor is yours to say anything you feel like saying, within reason, of course. I've seen your streams. I know I gotta put a caveat.
Listen, did I swear once? I was very, very good. Borderline maybe. Okay. So anyway, I create content on Twitch, twitch.tv/Tiddly. I'm live Monday through Friday, 9 o'clock CST, streamer time, which means not always right on time.
Correct.
And I stream in the mornings. I think of my content as kind of a super energetic morning show. I'm a really obnoxiously happy morning person. So if you're into that, then and you need a little personality caffeine in the morning, that's kind of what I try to provide for people. And that's where you can find me. And certainly you can follow me on Twitter. I do my go lives on Twitter. I sometimes will post my Destiny hot takes on Twitter. But there you go. Come by if you want to.
That's a good incentive as anything. I don't know if I've seen personality caffeine in the morning. That's pretty good. So.
It's pretty true. That's what I try to provide.
I like that. Yeah, a good pick-me-up just by being, again, your infectious personality. As I jumped in the stream, I don't know what conversation I jumped into, but I was laughing trying to figure out what was happening because it was a weird conversation.
That's about right.
Sounds about right. Yep. Travis, what about you, man? I know we have secrets coming from you sometime, but...
A little bit, yeah.
A very sad secret. I just want you to be like the guy on the side of the pool when they're judging dives and be like, 2.
Yeah. So yeah, that's me for sure. So yeah, I am reviewing a game I can't really talk about yet, but it's a bad game and I'm going to be telling people not to play it. I think next week is when the embargo lifts. And other than that, I did a preview of a game called Superfuse at Game Developer Conference. That's on IGN. Done some other reviews. We were talking about Tiny Tina earlier. I reviewed that. You can watch that on the site. And then also you can watch me on Sunday mornings on a show called Bitcast, where I get into it with Ainsley Bowden and Richard Hogue, the lawyer gamer content creator that lots of people know and presumably love these days. You can see me fight with him about Star Wars and other topics. We're going to be talking about Lego Star Wars this week, so I'm sure that will be contentious.
I'll be curious to hear about
the
Star Wars Halo show thoughts on that one.
Oh yeah, the Halo show. So I have not seen episode 3, so I need to get on that.
He said he may have retired from the show after that one.
He hates it. Yeah, he hates it. He's gonna stop watching it, I think. So yeah, but yeah, that's on Sunday mornings at 8 a.m. Pacific. Yeah, I wake up early for that one. And other than that, you can follow me on Twitter at TyGuyTravis and read my articles on IGN. And yeah, it's good times. Also, hit me up on Destiny, I guess.
Yeah.
And also, if you're in San Francisco, go and enjoy a tabletop game.
That's right. That's right. If you're in San Francisco, hit me up. We'll play some RPGs, tabletop RPG.
This is the man. Well, I don't think we could have had a better guest for Travis just to pick the brain of a D&D. Cognito, we missed you, but I think Ty Guy was in his bag on this one. I think he was way too excited. I had to reel us back into the Destiny show. It could have been
did a great job.
It could have been D&D for 2 hours. Some people would probably have been like, cool, this is a variety show. Others would have been like, I'm out. But it was a great balance, and it's honestly, that's kind of why I like bringing so many different people on the show is we get to let somebody, and if I find that little thing where I can like kind of pop the seal on the Tupperware and like let somebody really go crazy about a topic they're really like excited about, I always like seeing somebody do that. So when it was like D&D, I saw both of you go at it. I was like, oh, that's content right there. It's just easy. But it's when you're passionate about something, it's easy to see people talk about it. So whatever it is, it's nice to see you open up. So it's very cool to get another side of you, which I was very happy to see. So. But for me, Ibontus, I'll be streaming Elden Ring until I beat that damn game. So that's like a lot of my variety streams outside of Destiny, of course. I will be doing, I suggest you try that. If you like all these crazy challenges in Destiny, I don't know if you like action type games, but but you do like challenges though. So it does seem like something that might speak to you. And it is kind of an amazing game. So I will be doing that freelance trials this weekend as much as I can squeeze that in, trying to work on my reputation grind there. Trying to get a couple guns that I know I want. And then other than that, Tuesdays have been raid, a lot of Elden Ring. That's where I'm at mostly. So, and for the gentleman who isn't here, Iron Lord's podcast, it will be on Sunday, of course. Make sure you guys check out Iron Lord's podcast. Follow Lord Cognito. And of course, we missed him.
Finding Duke.
But we'll get him. Yeah, Defining Duke as well. Oh yeah, I actually got to be on Defining Duke Ultimate. So if you subscribe to Last Stand Media and you get their kind of early access or their bonus shows, I got to do the Witch Queen, basically spoiler cast with them. So that was actually very fun and kind of an enjoyable piece because I didn't have to play host, so I just got to ramble for a little while. So that was, I got to be in my bag for a bit. Well, for this episode, I think this is where we're at. Chat, you guys have been amazing. The super chats have been awesome today. Thank you guys for all the support as always. Any of you who came over from Tiddly's community, thank you for being here. You guys kept chat interesting. But for this episode, as we wrap this one up, thank you guys, everybody. And for this episode, it has been
The last word.